You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phones. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas. Let's go!
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.cfrn.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.cfrn.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-Mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-Mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Bork. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday. Happy Monday. Monday. Do you have any special feelings about Monday? Do you dread Monday? Let me ask you a question. Do you dread your job? I mean, I have had jobs in my life where, well, I won't go into too much detail, but I don't know. The work was kind of unpalatable in a way. So I don't know. I did not look forward to going to work on Monday. I really looked forward to Friday because on Friday the work week was behind me. The unpalatable job was behind me, but the nice juicy paycheck was waiting on me. And if you were the first one to the bank after they passed out the checks, you actually probably got to cash yours, which was always nice. If you're the last in line, forget about it. That baby might cash Monday or Tuesday. But, so, being the boss and the one who passed out the checks, me and my assistant manager would go cash our checks, then we'd come back to the office and pass out the rest. I was a young man, not living for God, and perhaps maybe not as noble as I try to be today. But anyway, Mondays are Mondays, and but you know what? I look forward to Monday, just like I look forward to Tuesday, just like I look forward to every day, because every day I get to do what God created me to do, and that's pretty awesome. We get up, we trade in the mornings, we teach people who don't know how to trade, people who've struggled with trading, how to get better at their trading. Plus we get to trade, and then I get to come and hang out with you guys for a couple hours. Then I get to spend, 2-3 hours in the afternoon doing mentoring sessions with people from all over the world who are at various stages on their way up Trader Mountain. Some of them may have just, for the very first time, fired up a chart, and they don't know a candlestick from a bar to whatever. And so I get to take that journey. Or I might be in a mentoring session with someone who's been using, some really kind of above my pay grade type stuff to trade the markets with, but just hasn't found consistent profitability. And so he's come to me for that, and so I do my best to provide that. But so I get to do that Monday through Friday. Then on Saturday I get to spend the day with my family that God blessed me with. Just like Abraham at 99 fell down laughing. I'm going to be a dad at 100. But he had faith. And it was prophesied over my wife and I a number of years ago in a church service, post 76 post 96 when we started going to church again, because we quit for about a few years. We went to some kind of odd churches, We got married in the Church of Religious Science. That's not Scientology, by the way. It's not many people even know about the Church of Religious Science. But they're best known for the book they wrote called The Book of Miracles. So some of you might be familiar with that, I don't know. But so on Saturday I get to, after I fell down laughing when somebody prophesied that my wife and I would have children because of our age, we never had any children, then lo and behold, I'm getting a haircut one day and the phone rings, my cell phone, and it's my wife, and she goes, "Be careful what you say, you're on a conference call." I'm like, "With who?" And she's with Child Protective Services, and I go, "Honey, we don't have any children." She goes, "I know, but so-and-so's in trouble, and she's going to be locked up, and Gabe's going to go into the system unless we agree to take him." I go, "Oh, well, that's an interesting thought." I go, "Hi, everybody. So when do we need to let him know by?" And she goes, "Now." I almost dropped my phone. Here I am, a man of a certain age. I don't know how to be a father. But I also knew how my grandmother had raised me, and I knew there was only one answer, and that answer was yes. So I said, "Of course." The reason they called us and did this, it's very unusual, but the guy who was the head of the board at that meeting making this decision at Child Protective Services, he personally knew me. He had come by my church downtown, the old historic church, at some point. And I had ministered to him and prayed with him, and he remembered that. Now, isn't it amazing how God pieces things together? Here comes a guy, I don't know, walks in my door. He says, "Hey, I see your sanctuary here. There's no one in there. Could I go in and pray?" And I said, "Of course you can." All my employees were there in the back, in their cubicles working. I said, You look troubled. Would you like somebody to talk to?" And he goes, "Yeah, I would." So I went in and I talked with him. I really didn't know who he was. He just said his name was Tom. And he kind of gave me a little bit of an idea of what was going on in his life. And then we prayed together. And then I said, I'm going to leave you just to have some, quiet time here with God. It's this beautiful old Gothic sanctuary, 1938. The prayer-stained walls, I call them. Just think, since 1938, all the prayers that have gone up in that place, all the marriages, all the baptisms, all the boys and girls sitting on the back row holding hands where mom and dad can't see them, and all that stuff, But what they failed to do was they failed to pursue the youth. And from 1908 to 1994, probably more like 1908 to 1990, they flourished. And then from 1990 to 1996, they floundered as the final members all went off to their own nursing homes. And there was no one left. And they bussed them in for the final service. I have the newspaper article. And then a congregation bought it, and they flourished there for 6 years. And then it was in foreclosure when my wife and I bought it. And we didn't want to buy a church. We really didn't. But we had to have a place to house our employees because we had to leave the building we were in because the rent. A new owner came in and took the rent from $1,500 to $6,000. It was a basement with a leaky ceiling, but it was 6,000 square feet, so it fit us really well. And because we were a motley crew, it was just kind of fitting that we worked in this basement. It was a cool place, man. When you came off the elevator, we had a suit of armor there, a real suit of armor holding a Bible. And that was the most stole Bible in the world. We would have to replace it like every day because people would come down and steal it. So anyway, we had our own little world there under the city of Phoenix. And the new owner threw us out because we didn't want to pay $6,000 a month rent. And we looked and looked and looked for a building to buy. And God just kept dragging us back to this historic church that was in foreclosure. It was forlorn and worn and needed some love and care and attention. And that's how we came to buy a church. I was an ordained pastor, but actually I think I became ordained right after we bought it. But I'm not a Sunday morning preacher by any stretch of the imagination. The thought of getting up every Sunday morning and going facing a bunch of mean Christians. Some Christians can be so mean. And they say things that are hurtful. And I don't know. I've preached on several different continents, and I enjoy doing that. I enjoy traveling, going places, meeting people, sharing the gospel. But to get up and face the same crowd every Sunday morning, I kept telling God, I feel like you brought me here for that purpose. But if you want me to do it, you're going to have to put a fire in my belly. I'm not just going to get up there on my own vain imagination and pretend I'm Matt Chandler or Mark Driscoll or one of these guys. I go because I don't think I am. So you really gotta, you're gonna have to slap me upside the head, God, and tell me to get up there and start preaching. And so, I did preach a few sermons there. We had a couple revivals and rallies and outreaches and different stuff, And on the Friday night And Saturday night, Christian Coffee House, I'd get up and say a few words, and, you know, we'd all pray together and stuff. But, yeah, I'm just not that Sunday morning guy. So, anyway, I hear Michael Russell in the background. That's his, Dwayne, would you get on with this, Russell? All right, let me give you the numbers real quick before we turn things over to Michael. Let's start in the Americas, where we always do. The Dow is down 43 points. NASDAQ is down 10 points. S&P 500 is down 5 points. And the Russell 2000 is down 2 3/4 points. We have no movers or shakers in that bunch. In our commodity basket, crude oil is down $1.43. Now, that's $2.59. I love it how people call me just when I get on the old radio. Now I'm going to show you all a little something here. A little something. Last night, let me go to a 30-minute. We sent out a free trade. For those of you that don't know, if you're not on the free trade list, you didn't get it. Let's see, crude oil, GCV, help me, Mike, GCV6, what's up? GCLV6, that's it. Yep.
GCLV6, yes.
That's where I messed up. Okay. Alright. So, we had a, am I going to be able, oh, I know, I go to my sent emails. And then I go sent to tech, because I sent you a copy, because I don't want to have to log in right now. What? Oh, stop it. Say it ain't so, Joe. Okay. How about to tech? How about that? Maybe that'll work. Aha. Okay. By the way, a number of people have said that but we're not going to talk about that on the radio. We'll talk about it later. Let me scroll down. Dang it. I think I sent it to you this morning. Where I told you what the overnight free trade was. Do you have that handy?
Let me check in just a second.
I'm looking. I should have it right here. I just don't remember if I sent it last night or this morning.
Hang on. Let me go back here and I'll search emails sent by you.
I send you so many, you probably.
I have. I do get a lot of emails from you.
Yeah, you do.
Sometimes that you sent it. I don't see the free trade. Leslie picks.
I know I sent it.
Here it is.
Okay, so we sold crude oil at what price?
Sold crude 48.40.
48.40, right here, guys.
Yep.
Bang. So if you're on the free trade list, you had plenty of advance notice. I sent you a personal email to sell.
It was 8 hours ago.
48, and then our first target was
48 1/4.
48 1/4. Okay, now that's only $150 per contract, but remember our daily goal is only $100 per contract. So, okay, so that was first target. And did we hit any other targets?
Let me go back.
All of them?
Yeah, I think that wasn't that the only target?
No, there was 3. 47.70 was the third and final target.
47.70. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, 48 1/4 was the first one, then 47.70. Stop loss 48.55.
Yeah. So the third, was it the second target was 47.70 or the third target?
Well, I'm looking at this. I don't know. That was me sending you an email yesterday. On Friday. I only have two targets.
Okay.
48.25 and then 47.70.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We got there.
Yep.
And so if you wrote it from 48.40 to 47.70, and it actually traded through. So the potential was for there to be $700 in this trade. And it went out to everyone who signed up for the free trades. If you've not done that, we try to do one a week. We've kind of been on a vacation, a hiatus this summer. But you can go to CFRN.net /emini-free-trades. Now, let's face it, you're not going to make a living off one trade a week, okay? So, I mean, it's kind of cool to have, and I encourage you to go ahead and sign up for it and get it, but you know, you really should focus in on one of the trials that we talked about in depth yesterday during our Q&A session, and I've posted that video both on our Google Plus page, emini.cfrn.net, also on our YouTube page, and I go into detail and answer everybody's questions on each of the 4 different trials we have going right now. We actually have 4 trials going now. We have the live trading room, the concierge trade alert, the 1 trade a day, and the daily double. So let me finish up these numbers so Michael can get his, I know he's got things he's got to get done. So let me just, okay, we know that crude oil is down on the day, $2.70. Oil, gold is down $2.70, oil is down $1.47. Now that's $3.03. Let me just say this while I'm talking about gold. I get special reports this morning because I'm a paid writer for Seeking Alpha, and some of others, you may have seen it in other news reports, I don't know. But anyway, I got it out of my special report. The U.S. Mint has stopped printing silver coins and bullion. Now, they're claiming it's because of a lack of demand. I don't know about that. But even if that's true, all these salesmen out there, all these phone rooms that call and try to sell precious metals and bullion and whatnot, that's going to become part of their pitch. The U.S. Mint has stopped producing, so you better get it now. Otherwise, there won't be any physical silver left to get, and you don't want to be caught in that position. So, I don't know. My friend who recently bought some silver physical, now that he's thought it through, he's not as nervous as he was when the news first came out. In the Asian markets, no sound effects today, the Nikkei is up 52 points. Shanghai is down 23. Hang Seng is up 60. No movers or shakers there. In Europe, we're red wall to wall. The DAX is down 50. FTSE is down 30 points. And the CAC is down 10.5 points. Once again, no movers or shakers. The only thing we have that exceeds 0.5% is the Shanghai, which is up 0.75%. And other than that, it's just very quiet out there. And I think that's kind of echoed by the fact that we only took 6 trades in the live trading room this morning. Of course, Michael's going to come in and tell you all about it, everything that happened. Feel free to ask him any questions that you have about what he traded and why he traded it, or maybe why he didn't trade this, and, you know, just any questions you have, type them into the chat box. Only Michael and I can see what you type. So you don't have to be shy or nervous, worry that somebody's going to judge you. We're not here to judge you. We're here to help you if we can. But we can only help you if you ask questions. Now, if you're new to the show and you can't see the chart I have up, that means you're just listening to the audio stream. If you want to see the charts, here's what you do. On our home page, on the right-hand side, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. Within 30 seconds, you'll be able to see the charts. and you'll have access to the chat box. So that's your window to the world. Anything you want to say, get off your chest, whatever it might be, boom. That's what the chat box is for. Okay? And I always try to respect your anonymity so that you can feel free to say whatever you want to say. It is family radio, so if it's, you know, off course, I'm not dropping any F-bombs, let's put it that way. Okay? Now, after you register today, you don't have to register again tomorrow. You'll just get an email and you can join the show with one-click access for the rest of the month. Then September 1st, you register again. So, Michael, if you're ready, you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay.
I've started to mark up the S&P chart, but I'll finish it when I come back. We had some nice action on the short side last night, and I'll go over all the stuff with you. Today's Monday. Dane Wigington will be joining us, as far as I know, at 1 p.m. Eastern. So have your questions ready for him. And Michael, I'll hit mute. It's all yours.
Okay. All right. Bird now has eyes. All right. Here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, the 22nd day of August, 2016. Today in the live trading room, we made 8 ticks on soybeans, 9 ticks in crude oil, and 7 ticks in gold. So that is a total of $260 a contract. It took us 57 minutes and 4 trades to get to $100 a contract, and we took a total of 6 trades today. Okay, just had a nice long trade right there on gold. On the month now, we're up $3,596. That's for 16 trading days, averaging $224 a day. If you were to apply an $8 commission to that, you would have a net profit of $2,244. If you were to apply a $5 commission, you would have a net profit of $2,751. On the year now, $38,731. That's over 157 trading days, averaging $246 per day. $246 per day. Let me just go check something out. In August of last year, where were we? 191,000 by the end of the month. And where are we right now? We've got a ways to go. All right. Well, that's okay. If you have not taken a free trial with us, you just need to go to the homepage here at CFRN.net, and in the right-hand column where it says register for a free trial, put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. When you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click the confirmation link, you will not get a free trial. You must click that confirmation link. All right, let's get into the trades. I don't have any YM trades. I only took 1 euro trade. It was a short that I didn't count toward the live trading room right here at the end of the live trading room. But we can get into the gold because I did trade gold a few times. 3 of them right there. Bam, bam, bam. We had a break even on the first one. We had 1 tick profit on the second one and 6 ticks profit on the third one. We missed a trade there and right there. During the break, this was the one right here. Okay. But it looks like gold has stopped moving for some reason. I mean, it really does look like it's just totally stopped moving. And look at my DOM. There's a spread. Alright, and that was it on the gold. Now, on the ES, we highlighted this one momentum short trade here. That was okay because dynamic support had not printed yet, so it was okay to take that trade. But it was a momentum trade, so you would have moved your stop to break even right away. And that was all we had in there. Okay, and nothing else. On crude oil, we had 2 trades. The first one was right here. We got 3 ticks profit on that one. It was really choppy in here. Finally, we had put in a lower swing here, so I could take a short off the BBC right there. We did that, got 6 ticks profit on that, put us up to +9 on crude. Then I just couldn't take any more trades in here. At the end of the live trading room, there was 1 short right here that I missed, and totally flat in here. There'd be a long trade off the BBC right here. It meets all the rules. Okay, In the soybeans, we just took this one trade right here for 8 ticks profit. Wow, the beans ended up giving us a nice show this afternoon. Yeah. Yes, indeed. If we'd been paying attention to that, Dwayne, I'd have been buying the beans. Above 1150. Anyway, during the break, the soybeans had a long trade from right here and right there. Okay, 2 spots you could have grabbed it. And we had just the one trade. On the euro, let's see here, on the euro. I apparently highlighted this trade. I actually took this one at the end of the live trading room, but I didn't count it toward the totals in the live trading room. And that is it. I will show you one more thing, though, for everyone who is not doing the daily double. Our daily double call this morning was to be long right here at 48.05. Right there. Be long at 48.05, and it ran all the way up to 48.18. Okay, our initial target was 48.12, and then it just kept going. Alright, we were expecting it to continue dropping, but it did 100% retracement of the morning's gain, and now it's getting it all back again. Okay, so that was it for the daily double this morning. And let me bring up this. Okay, if you have not taken a free trial loops, hang on, let me put my questions back out here. The free trade site. I don't remember the exact thing. The free trade site. But let's see, I want to make sure I hit all the questions. Is highest weekly trading zone for S&P? Correct. Let me go and look. Okay. Let me go and look, Richard. Okay, Dwayne. Okay. Okay. I'm done. But I'll keep going. Hang on a second. The highest zone. Yeah, 2313 by 2314. That looks to be correct, Richard. Okay, Richard, Brian. The list on the website. I don't know what list you're talking about. Sunday, consider being short crude. Oh, that was the free trade. Thanks, Alan, for posting that. And Deborah, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here and say CFRN.net Emini free trade. Nope. That's not it. Maybe free Emini trade? We used to have a link to it on the home page, but then we started the daily double. Nope, that's not it either. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know. Cliff, no. No, not yet. I don't even know if you're in here, Cliff. So, I will say, no, only gold. Okay. Alright, so, as I was saying, see, there used to be a free trade thing right here, but to take our free trial, just go to the home page here at CFRN.net, and in the right-hand column where it says register for a free trial, put in your name, put in your email, click on register for a free trial. When you do that, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link, okay? If you don't click the confirmation link, you don't get the free trial. It's as simple as that, all right? And a recap of the trades. We only had 6 trades today. That's a really low trade count. But we took 8 ticks profit on soybeans, 9 ticks profit in crude oil, and 7 ticks profit in gold. Took us 57 minutes and 4 trades to get to $100 a contract, and we took a total of 6 trades. On the month now, we're up 35.96. That's over 16 trading days, averaging 224 per day. And on the year, we're up 38,731. That's over 157 trading days, averaging $246 per day. Okay. And that's it. Okay, let's have another look here at what is going on. Okay, so the indexes are moving up, and gold is also going up, but it should actually go down. If the indexes are going to continue going up, we should see gold start to drop. Okay, I'm going to shut off my recorder here. There. I imagine Dwayne will be back pretty soon, probably. And we'll be able to do everything we normally do. Alright. So what we would need right here on the ES is a close above this trend line. The ES currently has a low of 81.50. If it closed up at 82.50, I would go long there. Crude perfect BBC long. Yeah, it was right there. But it is dead. Gold was the same thing. Gold was a bounce off the BBC. You know, the steps for the trade are the MA1 crosses the BBC, price pulls away, price pulls back down, tests the BBC, and then gives an up close. The entry's on the up close. Over here, though, Brian, if you had gotten into this at 69, it went up to 73s. Your stop should have gone to break even already. Soybeans starting to pull back a little bit. They haven't had a good retracement since back here. Okay, so hopefully they'll get a decent retracement. It's going to mess up the cycle, though. Whatever it does, it's going to mess up the cycle. Deborah, you know what? I can go into a special place on the website. Oops. And find out.
Okie McDokie, I have returned.
Okay. Okay. What's the free trade page?
It is, well, it's a process. First you go to cfrn.net/emini-free-trades.
I didn't put the S on. That's why I didn't.
That messed me up last night. I'm like, whoa, where'd my page go? Yeah. And so that's where you initially sign up. And then you're going to go to a page, and it tells you to go to this page. It gives you the link on that page, CFRN.net, Emini Free Trades Registration. This is where you're going to pick your own username and your own user ID, something you can remember, okay? And then when you finish completing that page, it is supposed to automatically transport you over to CFRN Emini Trade Countdown. Because in the beginning, when I was younger, so much younger than today, I would do a countdown like the next trade's coming in 3 days and 2 hours and 21 minutes, and it would count down until the trade came out. And yeah, that's just a young man's game, and so I'm not doing that anymore. But I might start again. It's just an automated widget I have to put in there and set the time. And it's so hard, though, because I live in Arizona where we don't do daylight savings time. So if I tell it I'm on Mountain Standard Time, it thinks I'm in Colorado. If I tell it I'm on Pacific Time, it thinks I'm in California. I mean, you don't need to know my woes, so I'll just stop.
Okay.
But anyway.
I will push the charts back to you.
Yeah, the one with the little face on it.
Yep.
That's right.
There you go. There you go.
So what sort of adventures do you have lined up for today?
Well, we have a plumber here right now. We bought
I got
water.
a plumber. I
ionizer.
got a plumber coming. You bought a water ionizer. Okay, so this is the kind that you hook into your plumbing.
Yes. Yep. And it separates the water and it increases the alkalinity, and it's got two. I don't know. From everything that I've read, one part of it is the increased alkalinity that's supposed to be really, really good for you. And the other part is more acidic, and that you just throw away, or you can use it for cleaning. And stuff like that.
You want your body, certain diets, certain foods that you eat, your body is always either in an alkaline state or an acidic state. If you're in an acidic state, you're unhealthy, you're prone to get sick, blah, blah. You want to strive to be in an alkaline state. And so alkaline means no sugar, no white bread, anything that tastes good, forget about it, because it's that don't.
Yeah, so we're doing water instead. we can have the alkaline water because it doesn't have any carbs.
All right.
I don't know. Then Jada just bought this thing and it was delivered and I was taking it out of the box and I saw how much she paid for it. I was like, baby, paid $2,500.
Oh wow, yeah. Now mine. Ask her, write this down, Berkey. Ask her if she's ever heard of the Berkey. Sounds like she knows a thing or two about water filters, but this one is a gravity feed, so we have to continuously be filling in the top half of the container with tap water, and then it takes a couple of hours for it to make it down into the reservoir at the bottom. But it's just part of our daily routine, like when we make our coffee and we have to take, X amount of water out of the reservoir at the bottom, we pour X amount in up at the top. Well, we just try to keep it topped off all the time. So, but it's all the hippies in California give it 10 thumbs up. So, we figured if it's good enough for them and their communes, we'll take one. So. And it was only about $400, which she unpacked it. I looked at the bill and I go, $400? I go, where do you plug it in? She goes, you don't. I go, you don't plug it in? And it costs $400? And she's like, then she started explaining to me all the reasons, and I just sort of glazed over and put it together and shut up and filled it up with water, and we've been a happy family ever since.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Ain't it?
Hey.
So I'm trying to find another headline that goes along with that email I got this morning, and I'm not finding it. So I'm going to go back to that original email. Now I know you've got to run, but let me make sure Kathy copied you on this. Yes, Kathy copied you on the email. We're not.
I think she did.
She did. Yeah, I just checked. And Dane Wigington did not get the message on the silver. Did the show live stream? Oh yeah, Dane wants to know how to live stream the show. So give me a second to send him an email.
Okay.
To the daily live broadcast link, because he has a following of like a lot.
Okay.
And okay, live stream. What can I spell? Am I old, Michael?
No.
I spell streamed right? Streamed in 2 places. www.youtube.com/CFRN. Okay. Da, da, da. Many are asking me for that. I love that. Okay. All right, so you can go. You can go, but you can say bye-bye now.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
We love you, man. Take care. Have a great day.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll have some kind of crazy question for you later today. Are there any unanswered questions in the chat box?
Just the free trades. That was the last one.
Okay. And you kind of covered that, or?
You covered it. Really. Jolene wants you to send her an email about the free trades. You just got to get to the website.
Well, what I'm going to do right now...
Tell them all about it.
Because I'm that kind of guy. I'm going to log in. Now, when I log in, guys, to my website, it means that what you see on my... It's going to look a little different than when you just come to the website, because I have superpowers once I log in. And it says stuff at the top like management and editor and blah, blah, blah. You know, fancy talk. Okay. So we'll come over here.
Okay.
Let's go to... All right, Mike, see you. All right, run.
I'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.
You go to Emini. But now remember, I only do like one on a Sunday night. So, I mean, it's hard to make a living off one trade a week. Although, if you go through the history of the trades, we've done really well. But you'd still have to trade. What? Emini. Oh, free trades. I am. See, I am old. Doggone it. I knew it. Okay, what did I do wrong? Emini. Maybe it's free Emini trades. That's probably what it is. Ta-da! Free trades are back, Jack. Okay, over the past 4 years, we've published nightly trades for both retail and institutional traders. Trades of the futures market, bonds, commodities, currencies, together generating potential profits well in excess of 100 million. Past that's Michael standing there. He's our math guy. The past 6 months alone, that's not really him, have been absolutely off the charts. We understand not everyone is positioned to take advantage of our premium services. To pay it forward and give back to the trading community at large, we're doing something absolutely unheard of. For a very limited time, we will be publishing free trades. The catch? There isn't one. And to all things there is a season, a time to sow, and a time to reap. He who sows bountifully reaps bountifully. I can vouch for that. This season, like all seasons, will be limited. Michael and I have realized that right now, not someday, not down the road, but right now, we have it within our power to put all people, all potential traders that is, on a level playing field. To whom much is given, much is required. You probably figured out what my favorite book is. Ben Franklin once said, to succeed, jump as quickly at opportunities as you do at conclusions. So go ahead and jump. Yes, there's a song in there. As a member of the CFRN community, you're always on the cutting edge of the latest developments in the world of trading. Whenever you need help, it's just a phone call or email away. Best of all, this opportunity is absolutely free. And so, yes, send me my free trades. You sign up, then you're going to get a opt-in email, okay, which means you've got, so below are exact, these are old, I need to replace them with fresher trades. I mean, these go back all the way to, God, that's embarrassing, September. It's almost a year old since I updated these charts. But it's kind of the same thing. It's just the same thing over and over. But anyway, so when you sign up here, you're going to get a thing that says, we just got notified that you want to opt into this list and you want to receive this stuff, and you got to say, yes, I really do. That's going to trigger another email. That's going to trigger another email that directs you to go to this page. Now, don't try to jump pages, because it'll confuse the computer, and then you'll be calling me up going, hey man, I'm in a mess. I can't even get into my partner's account anymore. Okay, so you got to do it in the proper order. Wait for the email to come is the best thing. CFRN.net. Free. Emini Trades Registration. On this page, you get to pick your name, your username, and your email address, password again, hit submit. Once you hit submit, it's going to take you to this page. And henceforth, whenever you log into our website, it's going to automatically take you to this page. Okay. Don't miss the next free trade. Free trades are back from vacation. Sunday last night, consider being short crude from 48.40 to 48.25, then 47.70. So I just showed you that trade on the screen. Stop loss 48.55. Trail using the CFR indicators and or your best judgment. Okay. All right. Now, what you can do is, I used to, before I got so busy, when I was a younger man, I charted every single free trade. Okay. And these are like big picture long-term swing trades that are designed to go on like for a while. But today we actually ran down and hit our final target on the first day. So that's awesome. But you can scroll back and you can look at every single free trade that we ever gave away on this page. But don't forget, we gave away trades for 3 years on Twitter. We did a public beta test of the Concierge Trade Alerts. So the same stuff that people are now paying $1,500 a quarter, $5,000 a year if they want to save $1,000 on the annual rate. We used to give them away for free. 8 trades every night, just like we do with the Concierge Trade Alerts, but we did a 3-year public beta. And towards the end, we kept saying, okay guys, you know, if you're a partner, we're going to grandfather you into the Concierge Trade Alerts. And so we kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off until, if we put it off anymore, we were going to look stupid or like, this is so funny. There used to be a Staples office supply store right by my house. I'm just going to turn this phone off. People know not to close here when I'm doing a radio show. Anyway, there used to be a Staples office supply store just around the block from our house up in the little shopping center. And this new mattress store opened. And it was the second day they were open, and they had these big signs out, going out of business sale. And my son, being 14 and somewhat naive still, he goes, "Oh, Dad, don't you feel terrible for these people?" And I go, "What do you mean, son?" He goes, "Well, look, they've only been there 2 days, and now they're already going out of business." And I put my arm around him. I said, "You have such a sweetheart." I said, "Son, that's their marketing ploy. A year from now, they'll still have that sign out front that says going out of business." He goes, "But isn't that like lying?" I go, Well, yeah, I said, but, you know, we're all, just like we're all dying, you know. Somebody says, are you dying? Well, I hope not today. But ultimately, we all, from the day we're born, we have an expiration date that God decides. We don't get to decide our expiration date. And so, he's like, well, okay, I understand, but that seems kind of shady or a little sketchy. And I go, I said, hon, I hope your thoughts and your heart stays pure all the days of your life. But that's how they choose to market, by creating a sense of urgency in people that if they come in and buy today, that they're going to get, you know, the best deal of their life. And so we don't do that. I mean, if we tell you something's going to expire on a certain night, we actually take that web page down, unless the old guy forgets. And then the young guy reminds him, and then the old guy goes and takes it down. Doesn't mean we won't have another special come along, but, I mean, you know, that's how business works. So now you know how to get the free trades, okay? So last night's trade, if you'd followed it through and trailed your stop. Now, let me just show you, if you'd been using the CFRN indicators on that trade, which is this guy right here. Oh, Dane's going to be here in 2 minutes. Oh, or 1 minute maybe. So we may have to save, yeah, it's already 10 o'clock. So we'll probably save our good word for the day and the recap of all the trade alerts. We'll save that until Dane leaves. Typically his time with us is about 30 to 40 minutes. So we'll get everything covered, all the stuff we normally do, the Clinton body count, the sci-fi technology that we're living with today, all the stuff we normally do. Don't worry, it will come up later in today's show. So as you can see, okay, after we hit the first target, price is below the MA1. Okay, it comes down, it tags our final target to exit at 47.70, and I mean, that's where you get out at the final target. I wrote third, but it should say final. I gotta check the chat box because I think Dane's maybe sitting there waiting unless he's gonna call in. What did I do here? Why don't I start over? Final target. Okay, so if you just followed it down, trail on the back side of the BBC, and then this gives you your exact exit. If you didn't take the exit at the final target, now it did ultimately trade lower. Okay, we don't cry about money we left on the table, okay, because that's just, that'll make you crazy. Had it gone all the way to 47.40, that would have been a $1,000 trade, and it might still go to 47.40. Okay, that's very much a possibility. But now let me check the chat box and see if I have a message from Dane that he has arrived. Okay, all right. I don't see Dane. And Dane, if you're here, just type into the chat box. Let me go look in the audience. You know, guys, we're incredibly honored to have Dane with us because he is, we always joke about being a busy guy, but I mean, this guy is really a busy guy. He's got so much going on. I hope you've been to his website, geoengineeringwatch.org. I'll bring a copy of that up on the screen for you as we prepare for him to come on. It's geoengineeringwatch.org. And just some incredibly fascinating stuff on this website, and some of it you may not be quite up to yet. I mean, you're still wondering, is it a conspiracy? Is it a hoax? This is a site to come to, because this site is filled with facts, interviews. In fact, there was a Chuck Norris video right here. Chuck Norris, a government cover-up of epic proportions. Now, who doesn't trust Chuck Norris? Maybe you don't know Dane Wigington, but you know Chuck Norris. And when they're on the same page, I gotta believe Dane is really onto something here. So, okay. Now, I wanted to ask you something. Oh, I'm testing out a new microphone today. As some of you have heard and heard me discuss, my wife has a new job. Companies all over the world contact her and ask her, will she review products for them and then write a review. She writes very well. And so that job just kind of fell into her lap. She said, we were praying, and she says, God, I need a job that I can do here from home. I don't have to go anywhere, and I like to be on my computer. And so, bang, it just fell in her lap. And so, anyway, the mic I'm testing out today is called a center stage. This is about a $50 mic. The mic I typically use is a Heil PR40, which is a extremely high quality studio mic. Runs about $450. The question to my audience, so that she can put it in her review: does the center stage $50 mic sound as good as the Heil PR40? And you can answer that with simply a Y or an N, if you can hear me. Okay. I'm getting blinded by the answers here. Okay, here we go. Nice and clear in New Jersey, yes. Sounds clear and loud enough, so I say yes. Now, I can pump up the sound if Jake says sounds great, Dwayne. I mean, I can make it louder, but the other day when my daughter and I plugged it in for the first time on Saturday, it was already cranked up too high, and I thought my headphones were going to explode from all the noise coming out of them. Okay, Neil says sound levels are good. Caesar says sounds great. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Brian says volume's loud enough, I think. Okay, I'll just maybe get a little closer to the mic and speak a little louder, and that'll probably solve that problem. That's an easier fix than when you start turning all these different buttons, because you got gain, you got volume, you got monitor, and you'd think after all these years in radio that I would be a whiz at that stuff, but I used to work the sound. Well, my wife used to work the soundboard at church, and at the old church we went to, and I worked the video. In other words, I got to put the lyrics up on the screen. I got to do that because I bought the computer for the church. It was old and slow. I bought it used, and whenever the praise and worship leader would decide to circle through, a chorus one more time, and I'm still on the next verse. I've already moved on to the next verse because that's how it's written, but I guess I'm not in the spirit with him, and so sometimes it was a little bit funny. All right, I don't see Dane here yet, and Leslie is going to put him through. Let me just make sure Leslie knows to put Dane through. Dane should be calling any moment to be patched through to the show, please. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this S&P trade I got up. Then if Dane's still not here, then what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to the good word for the day. We're going to get it all done. Just maybe a little out of order from what we normally do. Okay, so I need to find last night's Concierge Trade Alert. Okay. Now to the guys that are on the trial for the Concierge, I apologize. The trial list got hung up on the server. I just noticed it like 3 hours later. Keep in mind the Concierge Trade Alerts tend to trigger multiple times. Be sure while you're on the trial period to spend some time with me personally so I can help you make the most of your trial. Okay? With that said, we're looking to buy 85 and we wanted to be sellers at 79. Alright? Now, I'll shrink this down for a moment. So to be sellers at 85, price would have to, to be buyers at 85, price would have to actually hit 85, and the swing high was only 84.50. So there was no opportunity to go long, but there was an opportunity, several opportunities to sell 21.79. Okay. Sell 21.79. Okay. Now, remember, if you're on our 2420 blueprint, the daily goal is $100 per contract per day. Okay. Now, the first trigger, it does a little pullback, but there's no getting stopped out there, and it actually puts in, I really should calculate this low, but I'll just calculate this low. 26.75. So that gives us 2.25 points. 2.25. So that's your goal for the day. 2.25. Okay. Now, if you stayed in and this came down first before it went up, alright, so the actual swing low here, we missed last week's zone, it looks like, by a tick. The low is 21.75.50, so we missed it by 2 ticks. So 79 to 75 would be 4, so that's a 3.5 point move. So I'll go 3.5. Oh, that's right, we got shorthand now. 3.5 points available. Yesterday, because we'd only done the shorthand one time on Friday when I was in the Q&A session yesterday, I was having trouble remembering what some of the shorthand was. So, it was funny. I guess you had to be there. Let me check and see if Dane emailed me back. If I could find my inbox, that is. Alright, I guess I'll have to do it the hard way. No, I'll just dredge it out and find it. 40 messages. Uh-oh, that ain't good. Just tried to ring the 86 number 3 times. It does not work. Called it on the webinar. Alright, Dean, maybe I gave you the wrong phone number. I gave you the wrong phone number. I'm so sorry. God. I gave you the wrong number. 866-928-3310. Boy, it's a good thing I looked. I feel like the old guy. Alright. Important prices, important areas are almost always tested. This time we got down from 79 to a low of 75. So that gives us 3.25. Stand by, guys. I've got to figure out what's going on here. Good afternoon. This is Dwayne. Who? Oh, hi, Ken. Yeah, I'm in the middle of the show right now. We really took a hit. Did you read the headline today that they've stopped printing, that the U.S. Mint stopped printing silver? All right, I'm going to forward you an email. What's your email? You got an easy email address? We're not going to do anything right now until I can research this further. And yeah, just check your email in a little while, and I'll tell you where I stand. Okay. All right. Well, can we lock later today? Can I get a phone number? Yep. 602-553. 803. All right, buddy. Thanks. I'm really sorry. Let's see. Dane, I need you to call 866-928-3310. Okay, if you're listening to me, I gave you the wrong number the first time. I sent you another email. 866-928-3310. Sorry, you've dialed a number which cannot be reached from your area. Can you just log in to the webinar? I'm surprised that we're having so much difficulty today. I wonder if I call him. I wonder if you can hear both sides of the conversation. Alright, one more minute, guys. Good morning. It is. Howard, I can't talk at the moment. I'm in the middle of my radio show. I'll call you back. What's your name, Howard what? Howard Taylor. Alright, I'll call you back as soon as I finish the radio show. Okay, I've been talking to you guys for like forever with my mic off, so. Oh boy. Anyway, alright. So, what do we figure out? This one came to 21.75.75. So, that's 3.25. Now, on this one, the swing high was 79 exactly, so that doesn't count. we don't get to count this trade because it's got to go at least one tick above the trigger before it can become a new trade. This time, it made it all the way down to 75 and a quarter. And so if it had made it down to 75, that would have been 4, so it's 3.75. Okay, so these are all the opportunities that the Concierge Trade Alert gave you on the S&P 500 since I sent them out last night at 2020, but I set the line at 2030 to give you 10 minutes to run down to your inbox and back and put on your trade. Close 3.75. All right. So beginning last night, we had a trade trigger early at 2100, which is 9 o'clock. And actually right here, the swing low is 77. So by 2230, you had your $100 per contract per day. Then it went to 2 1/4, and it finally dropped all the way down to 3.5 points available. That's per contract. Remember, it only costs $500 per contract to trade the S&P. Crude, gold, soybeans, the margins on those are much higher. That's why every day on the Daily Double I try to send out at least one of the indexes, so you only have to put up, with a smaller account, you can put up the $500 margin per contract, and you don't have to deal with the higher amounts, which are 2,200 and 3,000, I think, respectively, something along those lines. So let me check my chat box. Let me check. And let me check my audience. All right. I still got no Dane. All right. Okay. Good word for the day. Maybe that'll do the trick. Maybe that'll get us all operating on the same level. And okay, today's topic, hidden by design. What in the world does that mean? Isaiah 49:2. In the shadow of his hand he has hidden me. Isaiah 49:2. When you're called to serve God in a particular capacity, it's not unusual to go through a period of anonymity where you feel invisible. Isaiah was called of God from the womb, Isaiah 49:1. But he experienced a season of being hidden in the shadow while God perfected his ministry. When a vision takes a long time to come to fruition, and you've sacrificed and worked without recognition or seeing results, it's easy to feel like you're wasting your life. Isaiah was human too. Remember, when Abraham was promised that he would be the father of many nations, first he laughed, and then 20 years went by before his wife Sarah conceived her first child. That's a long time. But the Bible teaches us in Hebrews that his faith grew stronger during those 20 years. Every time he looked down at the ground, he saw the grains of sand on the beach. And when he looked up at the sky at night, he saw the stars. And that's what God had told him. He says, you'll be the father of many nations, more numerable than the sands of the sea or the stars of the sky. And he believed. He had a faith that would not let go. So when God gives you a vision and it doesn't come to pass immediately, sometimes we start to think, wow, that must have been my own vain imagination, or I didn't really hear from God, or I missed God. And so what you need to do is you need to simply go back into your prayer closet and you need to talk to God. Hey, God, I thought I heard from you. I thought I knew exactly what you wanted me to do and how you wanted me to do it. If I've missed something, slap me upside the head and speak to me clearly. You know, you might have to raise your voice because sometimes I'm a little hard of hearing. I want to do your will, God. I don't want to sit around and waste my life, you know, and be a big fat zero. I want to prosper the kingdom here on earth. Now, if I've missed you, send me a sign. Let me know. But if I'm supposed to just sit tight and make the vessel ready for you to pour in the purpose, I'll wait. I will wait on you, God. But I'm in a season of uneasiness and worry. Please, Lord, speak to me somehow. Show me some way that what you've told me, I believe what you've told me is the right thing. I don't want to miss you, God. So, if you'll do that, He'll meet your need. It's easy to feel like you're wasting your life. Isaiah was human too. He got discouraged and said, I have labored to no purpose. I have spent my strength for nothing. But just because you feel that way doesn't mean it's true. Hebrews 11:6 says, God rewards those who earnestly seek Him. Hebrews 11:6. And guess what? You're no exception. It took 30 years before Jesus started his public ministry. Moses, David, John the Baptist, and Paul endured years of obscurity before they were brought to the forefront. In God's kingdom, there are no overnight sensations or flash-in-the-pan successes. It's the same thing with trading. So many guys come into trading and all of a sudden, because they were successful in some other field, they just want to knock it out of the park right away. Doesn't happen. Doesn't work that way. Okay? Beth Jones says, anyone who wants to be used of God will experience hidden years in the backside of the desert. During that time, the Lord is polishing, sharpening, and preparing us to fit into His bow, so at the right time, like a polished shaft, He can launch us into fruitful service. The invisible years of serving, studying, being faithful in another person's ministry, and doing the behind-the-scenes work. The Bible says, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work. Hebrews 6:10. So I encourage you, friend, wherever you're at in that purpose, that passion, that ministry, that you know deep down in your soul that God has called you to, and you thought it was going to happen a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, if you know in your heart of hearts that it's from God, be patient. He's molding you, He's shaping you, He's polishing you, and He'll send you out when the time is perfect, not a second early and not a second late. The Bible says God is not unjust. He will not forget your work. Hebrews 6:10. Be patient. When the time is right, He will bring forth the fruit He Himself placed inside of you. And that's our good word for the day. All right. I guess what we're going to do is we're going to carry on with our Concierge Trade Alerts. Because I fear that Dane may have just given up on me. And I honestly don't know how to contact him outside of two minutes ago. He just emailed me. I don't know if the audience can hear you on that line. All right. So, guys, bear with us. Dane has really taken a lot of time out of his busy schedule, and we'll get it ironed out, and we'll be smooth as silk one day. What'll happen is next month I'll give him a link that allows him to come in, turn on his own mic, and then this won't even be a problem. In fact, I can do that as early as next Monday. So what I'm waiting is now for my go-to webinar phone. Not my go-to webinar. My Google phone on my computer to ring. And I'm going to answer it. I just don't know if you'll be able to hear his side of the conversation. So I do believe he called Bert and Leslie's number last time. It's just odd that it worked last time but didn't work this time. But we'll get it worked out. Okay. We had another move that dropped all the way down to 75 1/4. So that is also, let's see, from 79. Oh, why isn't that launching on my...
Okay, I sent the caller's voicemail. Goodbye.
Unbelievable. That didn't work either. Fourteen emails he sent me so far. What did you do last week? I mean, whatever worked last week should work this week. I mean, all you guys logged into the webinar, but I guess he's not at a computer. So, anyway, I appreciate him trying. We're thankful for that. And we'll just go on about our business. If he makes it in. By next week, I'll have it ironed out. He wanted to use Skype because that's the program he's familiar with, and I don't have Skype loaded on this machine, and it's not compatible with this format, so I'll figure something out. Okay. So last night we sent the alerts out at 8:20. So I'm going to drop a line at 8:30. He was in here, he could hear my voice, but see, when somebody dials in, I can't see them because there's, no place to type your name in. So I don't know that that person's listening in via the telephone. And anyway. So last night, Concierge Trade Alerts. Back on track. I feel myself starting to get really frustrated, and I don't like that feeling. I really don't. Deep breaths, Dwayne. Deep breaths. Alright, we sent the alerts out at 8:20, so we marked it at 8:30, and on the Dow we were looking to buy 570, which, as you can see, didn't happen. The sell side, however, did happen. And the sell side was 18,520. Okay. So that's going to be right here. Sell 18,520. Alright, the first move down only took it to 13. So that was about a 7-point move. But then it pulled back a little bit, but not enough to stop you out. And then it took us down to a swing low. So similar to the S&P. Remember how we did these two lows? It took us down to initially 498. So that's going to be 22 points. How many points do you need to be done for the day? 20. If you're trading the 2420 blueprint. Okay, and then the swing low here was 486. So that would be 14 and 20. That would be 34. Okay. 34 points available. Now, just because they were available, that doesn't mean that's what you took out of the market. It simply means that's what the market made available. Then important prices, important areas are almost always tested. Here we go again. Now this time, we know that this low here is going to be, a little better than that 34 mark. But it took us to a swing low of 442. So 520 minus 442. 520 minus 442 equals, that's right, I'm supposed to talk louder, 78. 78 points at $5 per point. 78 points available. Okay. Then important prices, important areas, once again, are tested. And this time, we drop down to 469. 469, so that's 31, that's 51. Okay, so that's 51 points available. And the low was 476. 476. So that would be 24 and 20. That would be 44 points available. So are you guys getting the idea of this? How, you know, whatever. When I talk to you about the Concierge Trade Alerts, see, when you sign up for the Concierge Trade Alerts, you get 8 markets every night. 2 trades per market. And sometimes the long side won't trigger, just the short side will trigger, but it'll trigger multiple times. And so if you're trading the 2420 blueprint, it's designed to take you from 1 to 20 contracts over a period of 24 months. Once you get to the 20 contract level, okay, at $100 per contract per day, if you take 100 and you multiply it times 20, that's $2,000 a day. That's times 5 days. That's $10,000 a week. And if you work 50 weeks, take a 2-week vacation, it's $500,000 before commissions. Now, trading is risky. You can lose all of your money and then some. You will have to speak to a licensed investment professional in order to get an account open. And so they will make sure you're aware of all the risk that is involved. The one thing that you should take to heart is if you're going to use the method that we use in the live trading room, we never risk more than 8 ticks on one trade. Okay? We never risk more than 8 ticks on one trade, and we practice aggressive risk management. Dane said he's going to try one more time, but it's almost like the fun's gone out of it. All this work just to... I mean, we've had so many guests on the show over the years. I don't know why this is such a... Maybe he's calling from a lead bunker somewhere in an undisclosed location. And... because I could have Bert call him and patch him in, and that would just work, you know, hunky-dory, as they say. Except my phone's gonna expire in 1 minute. So let me go put it on the charger. I got one of those wireless chargers, but they aren't really wireless. You gotta plug this little dongle in it and tuck it behind it. I guess if you always leave the dongle plugged in and you have a case so that that little dongle thing is always tucked inside of your case, then it is wireless. You just lay your phone on the disc and it charges. That was another review thing, and I didn't give it a good review. I don't know what my wife ultimately said to them, but I just let it go. Alright, new message from Dane. Okay. Alright. Now, he sent this on one of the earlier emails. Well, I missed it. I'm so sorry. Okay. So this is basically our last shot here. I'm going to try this thing, but I don't think you guys will be able to hear him, honestly. Do you guys hear that phone ringing?
Hello.
Hey, Dane, this is Dwayne.
Dwayne.
Listen, Bert and Leslie are going to call you and patch you through because I don't think the audience can hear you the way I've called you on the computer. By next week, we'll get it set up. I'll install the thing that you like to use on my computer, and we'll use that. So you should have a phone call.
Somebody's beeping through right now.
Go ahead and take that call. All right.
Okay.
All right. So he's going to get patched in properly. Oh, Lord. I'm exhausted just trying to get him on the show. But we had a great day in the market, so that puts a little pep in my step. Gold. Giddy up. Okay, gold. Last night.
What's that, Dwayne?
Hey, Dane, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Brother, I'm kind of...
I've been trying diligently since 10 o'clock, as you saw our emails back and forth, trying very diligently. Couldn't get through. So last week, I know it was a slip up on my end, but I couldn't get through this time, no matter what I did.
Well, what I'll do is I'll work... You normally use Skype when you do radio call-ins and interviews and that type of thing,
I do
right?
a lot of radio by Skype. Yeah, it's a much cleaner audio. I have headsets here. I do a dozen national radio shows a week.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll install it and I'll figure out how to use it and how to make it compatible. Now, my only concern is that when you call in on Skype I'm just curious. I'm going to talk to the guys at Citrix today and see if that's going if my audience is going to be able to hear your side of the audio. That's my concern.
You should be able to work that out, and it would sound like I'm right there with you. You know, I mean, the audio is.
It sounds that way now. It sounds like you're sitting right here across the desk from me.
Okay. I'm game for whatever works, and I for this morning again, all I kept getting was you can't reach this number from your area. So
first off, I gave you the wrong number. I gave you 938-3310 when it's 928-3310. That was the first problem, and so. Comedy of errors. My mistake.
Good to go now.
Yeah, tell me. Bring us.
Dwayne.
Well, bring us up to speed on what's happening in your world because you're the expert in your area, guys. I'm going to bring up a copy on the screen of Dane's website so that you can all copy it down. It's geoengineeringwatch.org, and I've already shown you this once. And the Chuck Norris video, and there's just so much information on this site. So if you find yourself being in that position of wondering, is this for real? Is it true? Is there really a conspiracy against me, the average Joe? Well, I think there's enough evidence on this site that if you'll take the time to work your way through it, even if you're a doubting Thomas coming in, as you come out the other side, you're going to be scratching your head going, man, it's hard to deny, all that stuff. It's hard to blow all that off as just, some hoax or conspiracy. So I know, Dane, that you deal with that kind of thing every day when you do interviews and radio shows. People probably, I had it was a friend and one of the early guests on CFRN. He was the CEO of Overstock.com. His name was Patrick, and they used to get him on like CNBC and CNN and different shows, and they used to like call him a tinfoil hat guy because of some of the beliefs that he had. And what was his name? Anyway, he was the nicest guy in the world and just brilliant. And he and I've lost touch over the last couple of years. I need to try to reconnect with him. But tell us what the big news is in your area, in your world this past week since we spoke to you.
Well, many people don't want to believe this is going on, obviously, especially most of our population and the vast majority of our military has a psychological symptom that resembles Stockholm Syndrome. For your listeners that don't know what that is, it's just when the captors end up defending those that oppress them, and that's really the scenario we have. People have been trained to believe the government would never do this, the government would never do that. I did a show this morning with a former military colonel who obviously struggling with that exact scenario, and in the show with the data presented,
Patty Hearst suffered from that, right? Or supposedly.
There you go. So
supposedly,
that's what we have. And as far as what's going on in the world, again, with all the things we face, and on a financial end, with all the sort of preparation advice that we hear from people like Jim Sinclair, others, just the big financial gurus, with no mention of the fact that the biosphere is imploding by the day, and that all the financial planning in the world won't make much difference if we have a planet that won't support life. Here's a headline that's brand new, and I'll weave this in if I can, Dwayne. This is brand new from The Guardian. You're familiar with The Guardian? From the UK, The Guardian newspaper?
The Guardian newspaper, I've read... Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah. Your listeners would certainly... It's an internationally known paper, but this is a headline from today. Next year or the year after, the Arctic will be ice-free. Now, there's a very strong chance that may be this year. It's called the Blue Ocean Event. This connects directly with climate engineering. So the power structure has been trying desperately to hide this, to keep it from happening, to chemically nucleate the Arctic, which we know they're doing. We have the satellite imagery to prove it, to try to statistically hide the fact that the Arctic is imploding because the ramifications are beyond grave. And the paradox is, in them doing this, they've actually made the situation exponentially worse overall and poisoned the entire planet in the process. And this is verifiable fact. So we have, again, the military-industrial complex in a desperate attempt to keep business as usual, to hide the severity of what's going on with the climate, while everything they do is making the very situation worse, not better. So our world is changing by the day right now, Dwayne, and I know many people don't want to believe this. None of us like Al Gore. I don't. Carbon credits are a sham. But it doesn't change the fact that the damage to the biosphere is all too real. We've been incredibly poor stewards of our planet, and the epitome of that poor stewardship, in fact, an all-out assault against the web of life and creation, is climate engineering. Greatest assault ever launched against creation and the web of life by man. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
And we're there. And this is where people think that somewhere off in the horizon in a few centuries we might have some troubles. No, it's kicking the door in right now. I'm trying to get that point across to people, not to put them into shock and to shut them down, but to hopefully motivate them into taking action that we might still salvage what's left of the planet. And no matter what happens, and if we all agree that we should trust certain things to larger hands, if you will, it doesn't alleviate us from our responsibility to stay at our post and do our best till the last hour, period. We're required to do that, are we not?
We are.
We are.
We're absolutely required to do that.
And I think that's been lost. Unfortunately, a lot of cowards behind the pulpit in many areas, and this is no reflection on Christianity or any tradition at all. It's simply a matter of saying that those who have taken leadership positions in many cases are not following the guidelines of Scripture, if you will. They're not. They're absolutely not.
Well, of
I know that
course not.
firsthand.
Well, yeah. I mean, now when you say they're not following Scripture, are you talking about government, or are you talking about the people in the pulpit?
I'm talking about people in the behind the pulpit. I'm talking about Christian leaders, and not just Christianity, but other belief systems. And I've met with, and this is again no reflection on Christianity at all, only on those that have taken leadership positions who are absolutely hiding behind that pulpit, trying to protect their 501c3 nonprofit.
Yeah.
And completely shirking their responsibility. And we see that it's really epidemic. And I've met with some of these leaders myself, been told, we don't need to worry about this, it's all in bigger hands. And wait a minute, show me in Scripture where it says that. Show me where it says it's okay to sit down and do nothing when you've been shown the truth. It's not there.
So, can you be more detailed with what the guys, because I mean, I'm one of the guys in the pulpit, and not every Sunday. I'm not a Sunday preacher. I get asked to speak by special engagement. But if I could get a specific from you so that I can start watching for it, and I can, those who are guilty of it, I have the courage to walk up to them and talk to them about it. But I just don't know what particular items you're referring to.
Let me elaborate. And again, I'm not faulting everyone behind pulpits at all. Don't mean to infer that.
Sure, no, I understand.
We have a lot of courageous people.
Uh-huh.
In fact, I just had the pleasure of meeting with someone who I heard. I could hear you on the broadcast, even though I couldn't get in there. But a spiritual advisor for the Norrises, who's you mentioned, I know earlier. And I just met him face to face. Exceptional human being, exceptional, extremely courageous Christian leader, and I hold him in highest regard. The kind of example I'm talking about in some of the large congregations here in Northern California, and I've met with the leaders themselves, tried to pass on data, for example, are very straightforward, factual, verifiable flyers on geoengineering to introduce the subject. This is, again, an assault against nature, assault against creation. And I've been told this more times than I can count to my face. We don't want your information. We don't need to worry about that because it's all in bigger hands. How do you get to that point? And show me, and I've shamed every one of these leaders into taking that data because Scripture doesn't say that. It doesn't say, once you've been shown the truth, just sit down on the bench and do nothing. It doesn't say that. So, but I know these leaders did nothing. Nothing. Didn't say a word to their congregation. Nothing. Because they're afraid of their 501c3s. So, this is where I think we would have such people not get a very warm reception from their Maker when that day comes, because this is simply completely against everything we know to be right.
Interesting.
Was that example clear?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing protecting their 501c3. I mean, are you saying that, does it come down to they should be paying taxes, or?
It comes down to that they shouldn't allow a fear of losing their tax-exempt status to keep them from addressing and disclosing the truth.
Okay, because they're not now. A religious organization, which is churches have two different things. They have two different standings with the IRS. One designates them as a church, which is religious. I forget the form number. And then there's the 501c3. I have a 501c3, but I don't have the religious designation as a church. I've never applied for it. If you have the religious designation as a church, you're not supposed to talk about politics. You're not supposed to endorse a particular political candidate. You're supposed to, in order to maintain your status as a religious organization, you're supposed to only talk about things religious. Now, I agree with you that some of these people, like a Joel Osteen, they hold sway over an awful lot of people. Whether you love Joel or hate Joel, he holds sway over a whole lot of people. Okay? And there's a whole lot of other guys out there like him. And could they rally the troops? Could they stand in the pulpit? And when they're preaching to 10,000 on a Sunday morning, and their podcast is getting downloaded 7 million times a year, could they affect change in a more effective way? Yes. If that's what you're referring to, I agree with you on that 100%. Mark Driscoll's podcast on iTunes last year was downloaded 7 million times. And he's getting ready to open a new church here in Phoenix. He stepped down from his old church up in Seattle. A huge church,
I
Mars Hill.
On this theme too, just to paint a clearer picture. The environmental groups, I could put in exactly the same box, and I've communicated with all of them. I've debated Greenpeace's top scientists on national radio. They are absolutely not addressing this issue because they're trying to protect their nonprofit now. And designating all the institutions in question that I spoke to on a 501. Perhaps they don't have the 501, they have the other designation which you mentioned. But either way, their behavior is the same, in the same situation from Greenpeace, Sierra Club, all the rest. They won't address this issue. That appears to be a primary reason why, in the meantime, the whole ship is sinking by the day, or being sunk by the day. A lot of causes. We haven't been good stewards with the planet. There's no question about that. Well, I don't know where we talk about that for days. But again, the most immediate threat of all, the most dramatic assault against the entire web of life and creation is, mathematically speaking, is climate engineering, trying to play God with the weather. And when we have, again, all these institutions that are really under a certain mechanism of control, aren't they, Dwayne? I mean, from the designation you mentioned for that requires them to focus only on spiritual issues, that's really a form of muzzling, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
That's what we have. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question, because there's the geoengineering, and then there's the climate change that Al Gore speaks of. Where do you fit into that picture? The Al Gore thing, was that real? And if so, was it real because of this very stuff that you talk about? Is it two separate issues? Or did the Al Gore stuff not really exist? I mean...
Super important question. A lot of people need to, one, make sure they're not thinking dichotomously, that it's either this or it's that. It's all the above. So about what Gore said, I'll say this. Gore's data was wrong, but in the opposite direction of what many people would like to believe. Our situation is far, far, far more dire than anything Al Gore said. And any form, and this is important, if people just conceptualize what I'm saying, I think it'll be very clear. Any form of human activity that alters the natural systems is a form of geoengineering, because the atmosphere doesn't know whether a particle came from the back of an aircraft that's spraying that particle as part of geoengineering, or if it came from a smokestack. The atmosphere doesn't know the difference. And when we've cut down forests, which we have ruthlessly and relentlessly, poisoned the oceans, paved the planet, all of that affects Earth's energy balance. It affects the regulation of how much thermal energy enters the atmosphere and how much leaves. So we really, really have to try to avoid, and Americans and many societies around the globe are trained to think dichotomously. It's either this or that. It's either black or white, and that's not reality. So what we have here is a very complicated set of factors damaging the planet as a whole, and climate engineering specifically, the intentional attempts to hide some of that damage while actually fueling the overall damage. Trying to play God with the weather is restricting the planet's ability to try to respond to the damage done. So let's take the Al Gore scenario. If we didn't have geoengineering, and we look at the other forms of anthropogenic damage to the planet, we have 100 million tons of CO2 going in the atmosphere a day, and yes, it's necessary for plants and so forth, but too much is not good. Water is essential for life, but if you're 10 feet under, not so much. So on the CO2, too much CO2 actually inhibits plant growth. It doesn't augment it. Too much CO2 is killing the oceans by the day. They're 30% more acidic now than they were at the start of the Industrial Revolution. So too much of anything throws the balance off. So, but if the planet, as it warms, and it was warming, is warming, it would have, there would be more rain. The laws of physics dictate this. 7% more moisture for every degree of warming Fahrenheit. Why isn't it raining more overall? And yes, I know we just got 30 inches of rain in Louisiana, which is absolutely related to climate engineering and their disruption of the system. So we have these deluge events, but overall, atmospheric humidity has gone down in a warming world, significantly down. I just posted the graphs. I sent you, I think, an article showing these graphs. That's a virtual impossibility in a warming world unless you have geoengineering stopping the hydrological cycle, causing protracted droughts all over the globe with the occasional deluge in between. So we have man's intentional attempt to play God with the weather, inhibiting the planet's ability to respond to the other forms of damage being done. Combine the two, and now you have a recipe for near-term total global extinction, and that's where we're headed at light speed. That's a mathematical fact. I know this is very dire data people don't like to hear, but we're so late in the game, Dwayne, that I have to take the gloves completely off and point out to people that 50 to 60% of Earth's plankton supply is dead, plankton populations. Geoengineering a huge factor there, not the only factor, but because of the intense UV. Can you feel how hot the sun is on you, Dwayne?
I live in Phoenix, Arizona, brother. It's mighty hot.
But even then, can you feel the difference in the last 20 years? I mean, can you see that the trees are dropping foliage, the bark's being burnt off the trees? I mean, many people convince themselves we're just getting older. We're reading UV, and we're seeing not 10, 20, 30% more of the more lethal bands. We're seeing 1,000% more of UVB. I'm working with a 40-year aeronautics engineer who works for NASA right now on the UV issue. We're about to buy him a $6,000 meter to help continue his research. But he was just on our attorney conference call with our team of attorneys. As you know, we've initiated legal action in the U.S. to expose this issue. This former NASA employee, is telling us mathematically, if the ozone destruction continues, the ozone layer is in tatters and about to implode completely. If the damage to the ozone layer continues, mathematically, we may have 10 years or less.
So, okay, people usually say, oh, well, at least I know it's not going to happen. And maybe it is true, but it's not going to happen in my lifetime. You're saying we have a 10-year time horizon?
According to not just this NASA scientist, but all the frontline Arctic scientists. And this is what's important for people to remember. Just like in the financial arena, Dwayne, you've seen all the financial gurus. They look at a chart going backward and somehow pretend that chart is valid going forward into unknown territory. And that's not true. And so people have been trained in regard to the climate, for example, that such changes would take centuries, if not millennia. And that's an absolute lie. What we face is nonlinear to a degree that is unimaginable. It's unimaginable. So the feedback loops as the dominoes start to fall, it triggers other feedback loops. And we have as many as 50 to 60 feedback loops right now, fueling what can only be termed as an abrupt climate shift. And climate engineering, again, the attempt to hide what's happening, making it far worse overall. So the frontline Arctic scientists also stating on the record that if we stay on the current trajectory, if there's not a complete change of direction, mathematically speaking, that we have perhaps a decade left for life at some level in the northern hemisphere, perhaps 10 years longer for the southern hemisphere. And that doesn't mean we all go about business as usual until then. It means that many complex life forms will be gone long before then. And if we look backwards at the last 40 years, in the last 40 years, human populations have doubled. This is a mathematical fact. I encourage your listeners to look and investigate what I'm saying. We've lost 60% of Earth's wildlife in the last 40 years, and that rate's accelerating radically. 200 to 300 species of plant, animal, and insect a day being lost to extinction right now. So, I know this is hard stuff. I realize that, and my goal is to not strip hope from people, but to make them understand that we are in a position where we must decide why we're here. We must decide why we're here and what we're going to do with the time we may yet have, how we're going to prioritize, and what our responsibilities are to our children, to our Maker, and we simply must face those responsibilities now, starting with facing this issue. This issue would unite people around the globe and expose those in power for what they've done and who they are. And we simply must do that.
And so
we're
not all Dane Wigington. You have the ears of many important people. Most of us, we live pretty ordinary, average kind of lives. And I know I asked this question last time, but it's always going to be a question on our lips. What can I do?
And that's the most critical question. And this came up in the program I had this morning with this military colonel. That if we could wake up our military brothers and sisters, a lot of great people in the military, no one denies that, but they more or less have their heads down, going about their ordered, procedures, work, whatever they do. They're all compartmentalized. So they're really not conscious of the fact that they are participating in the sinking of the ship, literally. We must wake them up. All of us know people who are in the military. We know people who are in the military, or the families and so forth. We must wake them up to this issue so that they, at some point soon, I hope, I pray, that they refuse to participate in this insanity, because that's what it is. It's utter and total insanity. The use of the atmosphere as a physics lab will extinguish life on Earth if it continues. It's that simple. So everyone, if you arm yourself with credible data, don't just rant and rave about what you are not familiar enough with to discuss at an in-depth level, but pass on credible data. Pass on credible data. And Dwayne, on the pushback, if you might have got a link I sent to you, as we filed for legal action in the U.S., it seems someone behind the curtain in the power structure decided that they needed some sort of disinformation pushback to put doubt in people's minds. Did you happen to look at that study I sent?
Let me, really quick, I can go to from...
I can while you're looking, I can, if you want, just detail.
Okay.
It's a study that basically said scientists say chemtrails not real. Okay, so let me break that down. The author of that, a Defense Department crony, Ken Caldera, whom I've met face to face, worked for Lawrence Livermore. His job is basically to do whatever he's told.
He worked for Lawrence Livermore?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I have an audio tape from him. Your listeners can listen to if they search. That should come up if they search geoengineering. Ken Caldera. Actually, you know what? The article I sent you that video is in the article I sent you, so you can look at that and you can forward it to your listeners because it's in there.
Well,
so I have an audio.
I see it right here. Just posted. Ken Caldera, David Keith, and Carnegie Science: The Face of the Criminal. I will make sure this gets posted tonight on all of our different sites. I'll make sure that this gets posted along with today's show.
Essential reading. So on this, quote, science study to tell people the chemtrails aren't real. Now, one, chemtrails isn't a science term, so none of us say chemtrails are real in that sense. It's geoengineering. And two, they claim that of 77 scientists interviewed, 76 said it wasn't real. Chemtrails weren't real. Well, they weren't asked if geoengineering was real. And two, and this is most important, they solicited 450 scientists, 84% of which said they didn't want anything to do with this survey. And why would they say that? Because they're not about to lose their careers or worse by speaking out. Mm-hmm. And so the study is completely fictitious. It's all broken down in there. And what I'm trying to encourage people to do is you have to look below a headline from a government that says, we would never do that. And how many things do we know that our government's done that they lie about until they can't anymore, right? So I just want people to actually investigate, and not to believe me or you or anybody else, but to investigate the issue, and they'll come to the right conclusion. That's simple.
Okay. I'm going to post this. I'm going to post this now. I had asked you a question earlier today. Did you hear about what was going on with silver?
I hadn't, and
I'm a paid writer for Seeking Alpha, and so they send me some special reports. They're always trying to give me ideas to write about, and this is something I'm going to write about possibly once I once I have a chance to dig a little deeper. But here's what's happened: the article has been pulled. And so this is, let me go subject silver. Let me bring up the original. Okay. And I don't know if it's going to let me. Nope, that one's not going to work. So let me go back to this one.
Chris Martinson's
opened a bad link with some kind of noise on it, so let me do this one more time. Has the words silver. Okay. Here it is. All right, now the original article this morning, I don't think they're going to let me read it. It says, this article has been removed pending resolution of a dispute. Now, several people, like myself, who were close to Seeking Alpha, got this report this morning. And while they've wiped out the article, a couple of people have come up. Fellow contributor Jason says, it will be interesting to see if this holds true for other mints. American Silver Eagles were in short supply for months, and they've always demanded a higher premium than other government mints offerings. I have a very close friend who has stocked up on American Silver Eagles in recent times. We're in short supply for months, and they've always demanded a higher premium than other government mints offerings. Is it possible that the buyers are just getting accustomed to the lower seigniorage, and I don't know what that really means, of Canadian maples and the like? I know we don't see the RCM's Q3 report until November, but they didn't mention a drop-off in June like the U.S. Mint saw. See, the original article said the U.S. Mint was no longer going to make the American Silver Eagle and other bullion because all the dealers out there were overstocked, that they had bought big supplies and that it wasn't moving and it wasn't selling, and so they were going to stop producing it. And I immediately thought to myself, well, while on the surface this may sound like a negative, I know that every silver and gold phone room in the country, of which there are a lot, are going to start calling all of their clients going, did you hear? The U.S. Mint is shutting down production of the American Silver Eagle. I have only X number, whatever, make up a number, in stock, and I can get them to you today for just, if you'd have called me last week, I could have got them for you at half the price. But now that they've stopped making them, the price has doubled. It could triple by next week, Miss Jones. How many shall I put you down for? I mean, I ran a call centers a good portion of my life, so I understand how that argument works. Sage Oxford says, spot on, Jason. The premiums over spot or melt value for American Silver Eagles is $2.60, with Canadian Silver Maples at $2.15 at my firm. People are not stupid to buy a sovereign mint silver coin for much more than a Buffalo Silver round from Republic Metals, for instance, at 84 cents over spot delivered. These mints, both sovereign and private, source their silver blanks or planchets from the same source, so that the purity or fineness issue is never an issue, either 0.99 or 0.9999 with the Canadian product. Fine silver products will do just fine. Buy the cheapest silver products you can, because quality control amongst them is equal. Using the Silver Eagle as a gauge of market demand is hence flawed. Fundamentally, I should know. I've been selling bullion for over 18 years now. Okay. What are your thoughts on silver? And if this is true that the Mint, the U.S. Mint, has shut down and stopped making Silver Eagles, what would you think the real reason would be? Because I rarely believe what I'm initially told. I do a little digging and find out what the real reason Here's a guy that says, buy this dip, guaranteed profit ahead. I'm going to, I know you can't see my screen, but I'm going to pop over to this unused chart, and I'm going to wipe it clean, and we're going to see what silver has done since the open last night. My friend had a standing order to be filled this morning, and then that news came out, and my friend told the broker to hold up on that order. And so let me go to the current futures contract, which is GSIZ, and we're trading silver. Look at this drop, guys. We dropped on the open last night, the Sunday night Globex Open, 6 p.m. We opened at 1938, and within 30 minutes we dropped all the way down to 1855. That's almost $1 drop in the price of silver. It immediately sprang back, and it's currently treading water at $19 even. Okay? Now, I agree with the writer there that this is a buy the dip opportunity. I know I've talked to Wayne Jett about gold and silver. In fact, on Wednesday when Wayne comes on the show, we're going to talk to Leslie, who is the lady who patches your call through. She writes a newsletter every Friday called The Gold Digger. She's going to join us for the discussion on Wednesday to talk about gold, and I'll have more information on this silver by then as to whether or not they've really stopped producing the silver eagles. But have you and I talked, Wayne, Dane, about silver, and what are your thoughts, and how is it being manipulated?
Well, I'm fairly familiar with the issue, and I think there's no rational denial of the fact that it's completely manipulated. I mean, what do we have? About 100 ounces, for every 100 ounces sold, we have maybe one that exists. And the kind of knockdown in price that we see is to discourage people from understanding that the currency printing system, the federal fiat money, the central banks, I mean, all those are in the process of helping to collapse everything economically. But behind that economic collapse, and again, obviously silver, a hard asset, prices being suppressed radically, certainly a much better option than trying to hold printed Fed fiat dollars. I mean, there's no question about that. And when it hits its real value, we can guess, but I would imagine that's probably coming.
Worse than the fiat dollars are people are being sold a barrel of monkeys with this GLD and SLV. Like this one guy in this comment thread on Seeking Alpha says, I believe, and I just established my long position on silver at 1794. Bought 4,000 shares. No, you bought 4,000. Well, you bought 4,000 pieces of paper. You didn't buy any silver. If you look at the SLV prospectus, buried on about page 17, it clearly says we are in no way obligated to actually purchase any silver with the money you invest with us. We will from time to time purchase silver when the price is appropriate. However, your investment with us is simply a representation of ownership of silver. But see, when the salesman calls on the phone, he doesn't go into page 17 of the prospectus. And I've printed the prospectus on our blog. People can go and read it for themselves. Now, that's one reason right there that the price of silver is depressed, because you have so many people in America and around the world who've been hoodwinked into believing that they own gold and own silver when all they own is a stinking piece of paper. Some people who think they're really smart cookies go, oh no, I took physical delivery. Here's my warehouse receipt. You're what? I'm sorry. That's a piece of paper. Yeah, but it's a piece of paper that says my bullion is actually, or my coins or whatever, are actually in this warehouse. Have you ever been up to that warehouse? And do you know how many of you people own that same little pile of silver or gold that they take in there and show you? I said, That warehouse receipt might as well wipe your backside with it when you go to the bathroom, because that's all it's worth. Now, I'm not against a person trading silver or SLV or GLD intraday for a bounce or a sell-off and be flat end of the day. But to invest long-term, to build to diversify your portfolio, and to be foolish enough to think that you're actually invested in gold or silver by buying one of these stupid ETFs, the American people have just been hoodwinked to no end. And I get as upset about this as you get upset about this geoengineering. I mean, that's your wheelhouse. This is my wheelhouse, and it just makes me crazy, because.
Well, I agree with you on every count. I mean, there's no denying anything you just stated. The whole system is a mass Ponzi scheme. That's all it is. It's all it's ever been. And behind that, I hope people focus on the fact that there will be no economic anything if the planet doesn't support life. 75% of all global GDP has come from nature for free. No more, no longer. So in addition to, I understand that it is important for people to try to protect, to the degree they can, their assets, and there's no arguing the fact that a solid asset you hold in hand is certainly much more secure in an economic system than a printed dollar that has no basis to it. But I encourage people to understand, if the planet doesn't support life, it's game over. And this is where we need to look at the bigger picture as well, and to utilize those resources. And the more people maximize their resources, like, for example, silver as an investment, the window that we may yet have between the fiat currencies collapsing, metals going up in value, and people utilizing that for the right purpose to help bring other issues to light, because we simply must. And people must stand back and realize if you are floating on the deck of a ship, it doesn't matter how full your pockets are of anything. If the ship goes down and you're on it, that's about as far as you get. So I'm trying to point out to people on that note just how dire our situation is, and on the same sort of facade that's gone on with precious metals, silver. For every 100 pieces sold, one exists. It's all a big Ponzi scheme. And the deception, the same holds true with for example, vaccinations, Dwayne. I mean, we have proof from a top CDC scientist that CDC's been hiding vaccination absolutely proven dangers for decades. We have autism's gone up 20,000%, from 1 in 5,000 in 1975 to 1 in 25 today. At what point do people get alarmed? And again, back to not thinking in black and white basis. And I'm not blaming that all on vaccinations, because we're all breathing aluminum as well, which is contributing to Alzheimer's, autism, ADD, ALS, every other ailment you could imagine. But if we're in what amounts to a literal fight for life from what those in power are doing to us, must we not face that, first and foremost, or very soon nothing else matters? And so, if, again, all this plugs in to each other, because I do believe it's much safer to hold resources in fact, silver. I do believe that, and I do hold silver. So I'm with you 100% on that. I'm just stating that my purpose for that is if I have the opportunity to use those resources to help expose the fact that our life support system, our health, our children's health is all being systematically destroyed by the same people that are manipulating the price of silver, that's what I'll use my resources for, to expose that criminality.
Now, I just found another article. This is on a website called silverdoctors.com, and it is dated August 22nd today. The U.S. Mint has reportedly halted production of the 2016 American Silver Eagle coin. Over the past several weeks, we've documented the plunge in Silver Eagle sales at the U.S. Mint from approximately 1 million coins a week throughout the entire first half of 2016 to around 150,000 coins a week over the past month. The lack of Silver Eagle sales has reached a point where the U.S. Mint has reportedly just halted production entirely of 2016 Silver Eagle BU coins. In a conversation with the vice president, who requested to remain anonymous, of one of the U.S. Mint's authorized purchasers Friday, SD Bullion was informed that the U.S. Mint has halted production of Silver Eagle coins. The AP estimates that the U.S. Mint has built up a supply of at least 5 million Silver Eagle coins, and with sales this week around 150,000 coins for the third week in a row, the Mint has made the decision to halt production entirely. The AP confirmed the market intelligence we've been sharing with Metals and Market listeners for weeks, that the APs collectively began working 4 to 6 weeks ago to reduce large Silver Eagle coin inventories, resulting in a cliff dive in sales at the U.S. Mint. The Vice President we spoke with advised that if the trend continues, he expects the U.S. Mint to be stuck with a large inventory of 2016 coins at the end of the year, which means the Mint will likely force APs to purchase 2016 coins in 2017 to liquidate their stockpile. And yes, the Mint has a strong precedent of strong arming the APs to take down inventory of backdated coins because they don't want the same pricing as CY coins if they wish to continue their relationship. This means the historically low premiums investors have enjoyed on Silver Eagles over the past several months will likely continue throughout the remainder of 2016, barring an unforeseen systemic market event. Take advantage of these historically low Silver Eagle premiums with 2016 Silver Eagles at just $229 over spot. So that basically becomes an ad for this company to sell you some Silver Eagles, but this news, now the fact that Seeking Alpha pulled the article this morning, I can't wait to see what their reason is. In fact, I'll be calling over there this afternoon to find out exactly what's going on, because if they want me to write an article tonight, I need to know what it is they want to hear. Now, off topic here, Ron, you've entered sort of a generic question. Are you aware that there is a classified technology that could produce free electricity? I've always said that there's no such thing as free electricity and be completely pollution free. Energy companies make sure this stays a secret. How long will we stand for this? We need this new energy technology released now. Ron, Dane, for years we heard about the carburetor that runs on water and, the free electricity. Is this anything at all that you've, come across your desk, this free electricity? Somehow somebody's figured out how to generate free electricity?
Free is a big word. It implies that there's no assets or no resources that would go into making this. So
yeah, nothing's free.
But I don't doubt that much has been suppressed. I think we would be foolish to think otherwise. So we can speculate as to what's been suppressed behind the curtain. And again, we have enough history of the oil companies shutting down public transportation in certain areas in the 30s and so forth to make sure their business was good. And I think this is business as usual. But nevertheless, if we look at even if we had some source of energy that was much less destructive than anything we have now, because we don't have that now. The notion that nuclear energy is somehow some sort of clean source of energy. We have Fukushima going on that may kill us all. We have nuclear plants leaking all over the globe. The cost of shutting down one is unimaginably high, and the cost of the environment is incalculable. So we're back to the point that if we shut everything off right now, if we shut all the destruction off right now, this is what the population needs to understand, because they've been trained to think that when you run out of fossil fuel or you decide to make a switch to renewables, then you can just jump from one ship to another and everything's fine. Not the case, because most renewables, like solar, and that's my background, Dwayne. If your listeners don't know, I have a background in renewable energy with Bechtel Power Corporation, the company I walked away from at a young age because of what I saw that I didn't like, didn't want to become like them. But solar even is only an energy extender. It takes a tremendous amount of fossil fuels to make solar panels. Some of the chemicals used in solar panel production are as much as 20,000 times more potent greenhouse gas than CO2. So these are all facades that people have been taught to buy into, just energy extenders. And if we shut everything down tomorrow, all industrialized anthropogenic activity tomorrow, it doesn't matter in many ways because we're through the guardrail. You have a certain amount of momentum, and you can't crash through the guardrail and decide, oh, I want to put the brakes on now. Too late. It's too late. You're going to the bottom of the canyon, and that's where we're headed. But that being said, it doesn't mean that there's nothing left to try to salvage. We have an obligation to try to salvage what's left for our children, and the sooner we face that, the more we may have left to salvage. Does that make sense, Dwayne?
Oh, absolutely. Are there any petitions currently being circulated by people, by any members of Congress, representatives, that, because really what needs to happen is attention on this subject needs to come to critical mass, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly correct.
So one guy on a street corner with a megaphone, that's not going to, it's like preaching to the wind. It doesn't affect much. How do we do something smart?
Most of all, and I'm communicating with an Air Force general. I've mentioned that before. He didn't know this was going on. We need to. The more people we wake up, though, the more individuals we wake up, the more likely that some of that wake up is going to occur in military family circles, and we need to have that happen. So every single person that any of us effectively wakes up to this issue, which is unimaginably obvious once you wake up. How can people not notice what's going on in their skies? You can't find a blue sky almost anywhere, any commercial, any TV show, anywhere, and that's the goal of solar radiation management, to block out the sun with unimaginably horrific consequences downstream. It's the pharmaceutical approach to keeping business as usual on planet Earth with the kind of destruction we're causing. But we simply must wake up the entire population. I would argue the moment we do, that wheels will be turning in every direction to shut this down and bring every single person involved to light. And the journalists are the worst of all. They're the ones deceiving the population as to what's going on with the kind of articles like I sent you that have no basis to them whatsoever. It's up to the public to not just bite the headline, but to actually challenge their sense of reason, do some investigation, and realize denial won't save you. Denial of this issue won't save you. The ship is going down right now by the day. The single most important leap we could take in the right direction is to expose climate engineering, period. And I challenge anyone, again, to investigate what I'm saying. Don't believe a word I'm saying. Look at the film footage we have of these tankers spraying at altitude and consider what they're spraying is highly toxic heavy metal and chemical contaminants. Lab tests prove this from around the globe. Everything they spray at altitude falls down. We breathe it in. That simple. This is a fight for life, nothing less.
Well, all right.
I know that's dire data, and I hope I'm not shutting down your listeners. What I want to do is inspire them to action. That hey, every single one of them could be the final, again, grain of sand that tilts the scale in the right direction. Every one of them has power. You can go to geoengineeringwatch.org. Again, we don't sell anything, non-political, and you can download flyers for free, print them locally, and pass that on to people. Instead of going into a rant, pass them on some credible data, credible flyer.
Tell me on your website where, because I've got the website up for the audience that's logged in.
Are you on the homepage?
I'm on the homepage. No,
okay,
I'm on the Chuck Norris page. Let me back up, and I'll be on the homepage.
Go to the homepage.
I'm there.
Okay, on the homepage, on the left column, scroll down, and
awareness materials.
There you go.
Full-colored glossy flyers. Okay.
There you go. You can download it for free. We don't sell anything. And you can print those flyers. If you find the right print shop, and it's much easier to print those at a print shop, you can print those flyers for 10 cents a piece, color, glossy, heavy paper, not at a Kinko's or a Office Depot, but in a print shop. You can print them very cheaply, and they're very, very effective to waking people up.
Now, I see side 2, the little kid here with the, what do they call that? It's not a nebulizer. Is that a nebulizer?
Inhaler. It's an inhaler, yeah.
Okay, and so we talked about autism, we talked about Alzheimer's. Is asthma also a part of this?
Everything respiratorily. Try to consider, and again, people, if they search what I told them, or actually in the article I sent you also, another short video, you can not only hear Ken Caldera, the author of that recent geoengineering disinfo piece, you can not only hear him saying in his own words, in his own voice, that his job for Lawrence Livermore Laboratory was to figure out ways to spray pathogens into clouds from aircraft so it would infect the population below. What kind of job is that for our government? That's what he did. You can hear him saying in his own words. You can also hear in another video in that article David Keith and myself at an exchange at an international conference where David Keith was stating on the record their goal of putting 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticulates into the atmosphere every single year. So you can't not connect this to every single form of human ailment, diseases like ALS, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism. It can't not be connected because we have lab tests from around the globe to prove there is mountains of toxic heavy metals, starting with aluminum and barium, primary elements in geoengineering patents. They're raining down on us in unimaginable quantities. It's so much metal, Dwayne. It's changing soil pHs unimaginably, 10 to 12 times toward alkaline in the Pacific Northwest. We have Forest Service biologists to prove that for us. So again, the gravity of this issue can't be overstated. I hope people take a good hard look, and each of them can be very effective in helping us to reach critical mass. And once we reach critical mass, the rest of the wheels will turn. Wait and see. We'll have, just like the attorneys that are helping us now, because they know they're going down in the ship as well. If we reach critical mass in this issue, we'll have populations around the globe united against the power structure. And I mean other countries, not just ours. They're all participating. China, Russia, all the major powers are a part of these programs.
All right. Well, guys, there you have it. Geoengineeringwatch.org on the home page. On the left-hand side, you can download some of these flyers. You can print them at a print shop for as little as 10 cents a piece. The media, public servants, and others who should be acknowledging geoengineering's lethal effects have remained silent and indifferent. Such organizations and individuals should be held accountable every bit as much as those directly responsible for the spraying. So what that's saying, folks, is now that you've listened to this radio program, the genie's out of the bottle, okay? The evidence is there for you to go and read, not a conspiracy theory, but facts with some very credible people. As I said earlier, who doesn't trust Chuck Norris? But Chuck understands, Chuck believes, and I challenge you to print some of these flyers out. And if you have a shop or a store, I don't expect you to go door to door, but maybe you want to go door to door. I mean, how important is it to you? I mean, this man says we have potentially a 10-year timeline. Now, my kids could easily say, I could say not in my lifetime because I'm a man of a certain age. My children, come on. They won't be out of college in 10 years. So, my son will be just getting out of college, probably. Ron says, a year ago, Audi announced blue diesel, a fuel made of water and CO2. The fuel is produced with solar and wind-generated electricity. Are you familiar at all with that, Dane?
I'm not. But you know, if we look at how much has technology done for us so far, I'm not saying there's no form of technology that can be helpful, but every time we try to techno-fix, it's simply one layer of insanity on top of another. And just to add one more layer to that, not only are they geoengineering, we have mass methane release happening now in the Arctic. It's happening right now. It's happening all over the globe, but worse there. So now their latest techno-fix for the methane that's filling our atmosphere and covering the planet like a layer of glass, and if that process continues, it's called Venus syndrome. We're all done. Now they're going to try to they are trying. We know that they're doing this already from some of the images we have of noctilucent clouds. We know that they're microwaving the atmosphere in an attempt to degrade the methane with no comprehension as to the consequences of massively microwaving the atmosphere. It's one layer of insanity on top of another on top of another. So we're on the fast track to a planet that won't support life. We have to all face this issue. Exposing climate engineering, I'm not saying if we do that all our troubles are over. They're not. But that's the single greatest leap we can take in the right direction, Dwayne.
Now Tom threw his voice in. He's a little bit of an excitable fellow. He says, you're talking to the wall. Mass awareness will not come until a massive crisis event. You know that.
To some degree, I don't disagree with that. But that's happening. What I would argue is those crisis events are happening now. So I in large sense, agree with Tom. You said Tom, right?
Mm-hmm. Tom.
Yeah. To a large degree, to a large extent, I would agree with him. But those events are happening now, It's starting to force people to wake up. And the seeds we've sown on this issue earlier are now sprouting. They're now growing. People are going, what? There is something to that. This is going on. So I think that we have an obligation to sow those seeds of awareness because people are beginning to wake up for exactly the reasons Tom cited. We're hitting those catastrophes now. And it will start unfolding more rapidly.
Jim hit a question that I've got to believe comes up in almost every interview you do, and it came up last week. Do not the elite also breathe in this stuff? Are they really that stupid as to kill themselves? And my answer, which I typed into the chat box, was because, and this is something I'm repeating that you said, but maybe you can say it better. I said they have access to medical services, you and I don't, but maybe there's a better answer. Because it's a really big question.
It's an imperative question, but that's a short-term mediation for them from this issue. But we have a bigger issue. The whole ship's going down, and they're on it too. And again, the examples I've given repeatedly, the entire planet is contaminated with the fallout from nuclear weapons detonations. The entire planet. They did this to themselves. 2,000 plus detonations. Fukushima, again, primary example. Fukushima, if other factors don't get us first, Fukushima will. We have 3 nuclear volcanoes with no known technology to deal with it. And they're building 60 more nuke plants right now. They're putting old, dilapidated, formerly mothballed nuclear plants back online right now. Enough nuclear weapons to exterminate all life on Earth 12,000 times over. We're not dealing with sanity. We're dealing with a power that has so corrupted these individuals. They're clinically psychotic. That's a statistical fact. And quite simply, does a cancer intend to kill its host? I would ask that. Is it the goal of cancer to kill the host? No. The goal of the cancer is to expand and proliferate at any cost. The host eventually dies, and that's exactly what we're facing. So the notion that they wouldn't do this to themselves, we have enough historical fact to completely obliterate that notion.
Marvin says, I had blood tested. Dr. Callio telling me I have been poisoned by high levels of aluminum. I did chelation to remove. I was never exposed to the same. I just got it from, and he uses the term, chemtrails. Just have you checked? So I don't know if I read
all
that
of us
right,
have
Marvin.
these metals in us.
Okay.
He's correct. Now, if that chelation, that blood test would have been done properly, I suspect that the metals count would be much higher still, because the only effective way to do a blood metals test, you have to do pre-test chelation protocol. You have to, because so much of the metal is adhered to cell receptors inside your body, and it's not mobile in the bloodstream. So if he did a chelation test, which is protocol for that type of testing, I suspect those amounts would be unimaginably high. All of us have these metals in us. Some of us are stronger than others. But once our systems begin to break down, it's happening now, because we see epidemic.
Have I told you about my leg?
No.
I fell it's been about 4 weeks ago now. I was moving some furniture out of our historic church downtown. I fell over backwards. A bookshelf fell on me. It cut my leg. My leg bled. But I had on long, clean blue jeans. So the wood never actually touched my leg. And of course, I just blew it off. I didn't want to appear weak in front of a group of guys who we were giving this furniture to. So I wanted to lead by example. So I just shook myself up and said, I'm fine, let's go. But when I got home and took my pants off, I realized I wasn't okay. I'm now told that I have cellulitis, thrombosis, and something else. I've been through 2 rounds of antibiotics. I'm on my 2nd round of steroids, and I think I take my last steroid pill on Friday. Now, I'm a person who has been blessed with good health most of his life. And from now the actual wound where the piece of furniture, the edge of it fell and cut my leg and it bled, that healed up like a normal wound. But everything below that wound, it's red, it's swollen, it's hot to the touch, it's not pretty. And I think I'm going to have to go see an infectious disease specialist. Now, I can only believe that suddenly I've gone from being a very healthy person all of my life, and I'm living much cleaner today than I lived, before. I mean, today I don't drink, I don't smoke, I just don't do a lot of the crazy things I did as a younger man. But my immune system is challenged in some way, because this is an infectious disease of the skin, and it's, I'm told, quite dangerous, and that once you have it, it will return even if the doctors do get it under control. So am I trying to say that chemtrails cause my leg to swell up and turn red, or geoengineering caused my leg to swell up and turn red? No, I'm just saying something happened in Dwayne's body that Dwayne doesn't understand. Dwayne eats a good diet. He eats organic produce. He drinks Berkey purified water. I mean, he does the right things. He takes a fistful of vitamins every day, herb supplements. You know what I'm saying? Now, Ron has
metal fallout. It's actually killing trees, Dwayne. How could it not affect us? We know that the metal fallout is so horrific. It's changing soil pHs again 10 to 12 times toward alkaline. The precipitation tests prove that's where the material is coming from. It's killing trees. How could it not affect us? I'm not saying it's the only thing killing trees, but we know the metals are affecting soils, killing soil microbes, killing aquatic life. We know that. We've seen a 90% decline in aquatic insect life in Northern California in the last 10 years from the massive amounts of metals being a primary factor, according to Forest Service biologists. How could it not be affecting us? We have barium, for example, a known immune suppressant. So, I mean, although there's other factors, again, we can't think dichotomously. How can we not see that this is a part of the equation, if not a very massive part?
Right.
So, again,
Ron came back with, he gave it a name. Take a look at thorium reactors. Produce a nearly free power using a very manageable form of nuclear fission. Is that something you're familiar with at all?
To some degree. Again, there are fossil fuels and other components necessary for manufacture of any such facility. So it's, although I don't deny that technology is being suppressed, there are much better alternatives than what the majority are still using. But nevertheless, we must face the fact that every breath we take is laden with these materials. And I would argue this, whatever other challenges we're going to try to face or solutions we're going to try to find, if we can't think clearly, if we're not functioning cognitively, game over. And not to mention the planet not supporting life. So we're back to, we must first deal with the fact that we're in a direct fight for life with every single breath we take. We have to deal with that first, plain and simple. And if we don't, we won't meet any challenge. We won't face anything that's coming at us. So, that's why I'm focused on this issue. This is not something I wanted to do. Again, I'm non-political, not an activist, but quite simply, this is a fight for life. I owe it to my children. I owe it to my maker. And Dwayne, if you forgive me, I have an attorney conference call.
Oh, absolutely. No, I have mentoring sessions this afternoon, and I have to finish up the radio show. So, listen, thank you so much, Dane. I promise you that by next Monday, you and I will have practiced, and we'll have a method down of getting you onto the show, smooth as silk, and we won't have any problems, okay?
I take responsibility for the Eastern Pacific time responsibility first time around, and so we'll get it right third time around.
We'll get it. Thanks so much. Have a great week. All right.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye. Guys, you can see it up on the screen, geoengineeringwatch.org. I'll be uploading some links to the Google Plus page tonight, along with the radio show. And so the articles that Dane has emailed over to me, there will be links that you can click through, and you'll be able to read those articles as well, and come back to the show next Monday, well informed. Okay, we left off on our Concierge Trade Alert recap with gold. So let's get our cursor, or let's get our line in the sand at 8:30. I sent the alerts at 20:20, but we're gonna, these are 30-minute candles, so we'll use 20:30 as our line in the sand. All right, let me get to the alerts themselves. And I'm going to try to move through these pretty quickly because I do have mentoring this afternoon that I need to get to. So, gold, GGCZ6, buy 1345. All right, as you can see, we did not trigger on the buy side. We never got up to 1345. Did we trigger on the short side? 1339. We did. And we triggered early. Okay. Now that's something that you guys had asked me to work on. Hey Dwayne, you know, do we have to stay up to 3 a.m. to catch the London Open? You know, what's the chance that we could catch some earlier trades? So I hope I've served you well in my quest to do that. So we're selling 1339. Okay. Alright, the first drop took us down, well, I mean, let's just face it, the first drop took us down to 1335.40. Okay. So if it were 36, it would be so that's $360. $360 per contract available. Okay, remember our shorthand from Friday. $360 per contract available. Now, as price pulled back to give you another trade, what's going to happen? You're going to get stopped out with profit. How much profit are you going to give back? That's up to you. Could you simply set a target at $100 per contract per day if you're trading the 2420 blueprint, take you 100 and go to bed on Sunday night knowing that you've already made your Monday money? The answer in this case happens to be yes. Will that always happen? No. There are no guarantees in trading. They just don't exist. So well, I guarantee you that if you don't get an education, you'll lose whatever money you put in your account. I'd be willing to guarantee it. I won't bet you, but I'll guarantee you. I'll say it's a high probability. Now, I'm not saying you can't figure out trading on your own, but good luck with that. I know how hard Michael and I worked. The two of us, you know, with our heads together, all the years, all the hours, and all the dollars spent to reach a point that we're at now. If you want to go that route, boy, I'm just going to tell you, it's fraught with letdowns and losses, and you start to burn out. I mean, when Michael and I started, if we had had someone hand us a trading methodology and said, hey, if you'll simply follow this set of rules and have some self-discipline and don't, you know, run off the farm, you know, just do what you're supposed to do your chores, you'll be okay. I think we would have actually, our lives would have played out a whole lot differently. Now, that probably means I wouldn't be here talking to you today, but part of the reason I'm here, now we don't deny that we earn a good living, both, you know, because of trading, teaching traders, all of that. We don't deny that. A lot of the guys will out there will tell you, well, I just do this because I want to give back to the community. Oh, well, okay. Well, we did that for 4 years. We gave back to the community for 4 years, and then we decided that we enjoyed doing it, so it had to become a business model because we had families to take care of, just like you have families to take care of. So from 1339, the swing low here, was 1336.1. So that's going to be $290 per contract available. 290 PCA. Okay. All right. 290 PCA. And then we never triggered on the long side. Okay. Now, if you draw the line all the way across, because somebody's going to probably say, well, what about, and what about's a valid question. What about this? Okay. What about these triggers right here? Okay. Now, my question to you is, on this one, where you're going to put your stop, and I can tell you where you would put your stop, and I can then tell you that you would get stopped out. Okay? So I'll even put an SO there. Alright? Now, there's a chance you might have, but for the purpose of this recap, let's call it a stop out. And what did this drop? This dropped to 13,830. So that was 7 ticks available, or $70. That very well could have been a stop out. Oh, come on. What's happening here? I need some cooperation. Okay. Alright. So, you know, some rough weather here. But we had a nice clean 360. We don't get out at the exact swing low. We always get out on the pullback. We always leave some on the table. And here, 290, and then it pulled back, and then gave those triggers there that just were not beneficial. So, bonds. Look at them bonds. I'm telling you, we have probably more incredible days in bonds than in any other market. However, I don't recommend that brand new people trade bonds. Why? Because number one, they pay $31.25 per tick. And you're like, well, wait a minute, that's a good thing, isn't it? Well, yes and no. If you're on the winning side of a if you're on the winning side of a trade, it's a good thing. Okay. If you're on the other side of a trade, you know, what makes you $31.25 per tick can cost you $31.25 per tick. So you have to be very careful. Now let's see what the alerts told us to do with bonds. ZBU6, be a buyer at 71.07, be a seller at 70.20. 70.20 never happened, so we don't have to worry about the sell side. All we're concerned with is the buy side, 171.07. That happened right here. Okay, let's come down a tick. If you follow the cursor, 171.07. Okay. Buy. $171.07. Now, this is the part I really like. There are 32 ticks to a point. We already discussed that each point pays $31.25 per tick. And so, if the market moves 32 ticks, that is equivalent to 1 point. if you take 3125 and multiply it times 32, guess what you get? 171.07 to 172.07. You get what in the 80s we used to call a gee whiz. That's because $1,000 is also referred to as a grand. That's why it's called a G. And that's why somebody along the way turned a G into a gee whiz. I guess because they were happy on a Friday. I mean, there's back in the day when you got your paycheck on Friday, and after taxes you still had $1,000. There was still a comma in your check in the early 80s. That was pretty exciting stuff. And yes, that really did happen. So we had 1K per contract available. So what that means is $1,000 per contract available. Now, price pulled back right before it hit it. Look here, at 172.06. You're one tick shy of a gee whiz, and it pulls back on you. And it pulls back pretty good. Let's measure it with the fib tool. Let's go from the swing low to the swing high. Come on, baby. All right. We had a 24% retracement, and then it kept cooking. All right. Now, let's see if you laid your CFRN indicators on there. When did they tell you to get out? Remember, we need the step line to get on the back side of the MA1, and if it's a long trade, we need a red candle to close below the step line, which is below the MA1. So using the indicators to trail your stop and to know exactly to the tick the close of this red candle is your exit price. Your close is 172.12. So you actually made a gee whiz and 5 more ticks. So that's about $1,150 per contract if you use the indicators to tell you when to exit the trade. However, we do have a rule of thumb that says anytime you make $1,000 per contract on any one instrument in one day, take the money and walk away. Okay? Now, if you're trading one contract and you make $1,000, I mean, wow, who doesn't get excited by making $1,000, right? But what if you were trading 10 contracts? Is that possible? Well, let's see. This trade triggered at 7 a.m. this morning Eastern, and in the 30 minutes that this candle represents, there were 2,631 contracts traded. In the next 30 minutes, there was 2,300 contracts. In the next 30 minutes, there were 17,000 contracts. And in the next 30 minutes, there were almost 14,000 contracts. 15,000 contracts. $15,000, $11,000. So could you come in here and trade 10 contracts if you are qualified to trade 10 contracts? Yep. 20? Yep. 100? Yep. Now, will they all get filled at the same price? Nope, probably not. And so, but you'll get used to that. As you start to trade multiple contracts, you'll realize that they're not going to all get, because let's say you're willing to buy 50 contracts on a stop at a certain price, 170, 107. Well, what if there's only 25 for sale at that price? You got to get your next 25 at 170, 108. Or maybe there's only 10 for sale at 170, 108, and there's another 10 for sale at 170, 109. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when you reconcile your books, you figure out what your average entry point was and what your average exit point was. Your accountant, of course, by the time you're making that sort of money, you don't have to do the accounting yourself. You can have your accountant do it for you. And your accountant will be happy to do that for you. Now, so using our indicators, we would have actually stayed in this trade through this pullback and got out, I don't know, wherever it was, over here or over here. But our rule of thumb says at 1,000, just get out. Okay? Imagine being in this thing with 20 contracts. But see, you can't, just because you have the money to trade 20 contracts, because there are brokers that'll let you trade 30-year treasuries for $900. So, in other words, you could trade 10 contracts for $9,000. You could trade 20 for $18,000. Of course, you got to have money for drawdowns and stop outs, and you got to have more money than that in your account. But if you just sold your business, or just retired, or just tapped a IRA or a 401k, you might have that money. But if you go in and start trading 10 contracts just because you think you're clever, man, oh God, I just can't beg you enough. Don't do it, because no good will come of it. Okay? Start small, go slow, learn who you are as a trader. If you become a part of our mentoring program, we're going to ask you to go through, we're going to ask you to produce 10 consistently profitable days in the simulator before you go live with even one contract. Why? Because we want to make sure you understand the strategy, that you know how to read the chart, that you know how to read the indicators. See, anybody can get lucky, right? I mean, probably anybody that's ever been to Vegas more than a few times, there's at least one time that you actually came home with some money. And you thought you were Diamond Jim Brady. Oh my goodness, I've cracked the blackjack tables. I can go make money at whim there. And then the next time you took a trip, you found out that, oops, it was just luck. There's no sicker feeling than making a bunch of money trading, knowing that you got lucky on that trade, because you can't repeat luck. What you can repeat is skill. When you learn a specific skill set, okay, you can come into the office every day, and even though the market's going to behave a little bit differently each and every day, you become the permanent part of the equation. The market's moving this way and that way and bouncing higher and bouncing lower, and you're not. You're steady as a rock. Okay? The market can go up, the market can go down. Doesn't really matter to you. Why? Because I said because Because you've learned how to make your daily goal. You've learned how to add contracts one at a time so that you grow your account financially. You grow yourself mentally as a trader. You grow yourself and mature psychologically as a trader before you start handling large sums of money. Because I'm going to tell you something. The first time you put on 10 contracts and get stopped out for 8 ticks or more, if you're not using a hard stop, you're going to have a hard time facing yourself next time you have to shave. But if you'll listen to us, if you'll follow the rules, it is rules-based trading. Oh, well, I've heard that rules-based trading doesn't work because the markets are always changing, so one set of rules can't be right all the time. Wrong. Our methodology is unique in that it embraces whatever market you put our indicators on, whatever time frame you put our indicators on. They embrace the underlying rhythm of the market. And within 2 or 3 minutes, you'll know if you have a trade about to set up, a trade setting up, or a trade that's already executed and is playing out. And so, if it's already executed, we're not going to chase it. We're going to go look at another market. And if need be, we'll look at another market. And then, as a new person, we only recommend that you try to watch 2 markets at a time. Okay? Because you can get your daily goal potentially twice as fast. Because, not that it's a race. Every day when you sit down, get this thinking out of your head about, oh man, I'm going to be done in 1 trade today, you know, because you set yourself up to be emotionally crushed if you don't get done in 1 trade. This morning it took Michael right about an hour, and it took 4 trades, okay, to reach his goal for the day. That's just, now he's been at it how many years? And he's how good? And it still took him an hour? And it still took him 4 trades? Remember, the best trader on planet Earth, the guy who would be batting 400 if he was a baseball player, or if he were an airline pilot, would have a perfect record. If he was a surgeon, he would have a perfect record. The trader who can be profitable 7 out of 10 times, you get to be in the Trader Hall of Fame. I mean, that's perfection in trading. The best of the best, with all the cool tools and toys, indicators and oscillators, you know, secret news feeds, blah, blah, blah. 7 out of 10. Okay? Now, some people have a problem with that because that damages the ego. Hey, I'm used to being right all the time. That's why I'm so successful. That's why I have so much money. When I ran my pizza restaurants, if only 7 out of 10 of our pizzas were worth eating, we would not have been so successful, and I would not have sold my franchise for so much money. Yeah, well, I mean, come on, when you're spinning a pizza, you can expect 10 out of 10. Or at least 9. Occasionally you're going to drop 1 when you're getting fancy. But you follow me? See, perfection in trading is 7 out of 10. But yet people spend thousands of dollars chasing indicators, oscillators, gurus, newsletters, this thing, that thing, trying to outdo what only the best can do. It's like looking for a black cat in the dark that isn't there. I mean, using the simplest of indicators and a little email. We put together $1,000 per contract trade. That's awesome. We had a great free trade last night on crude oil. Gosh, that thing's dropped to 47.44. And I put a final target on it at 47.70. I was just trying to be realistic, I guess. 2030. We got to get finished here quick. So if you have questions, put them in the chat box, please. 2030. All right. So crude oil. What we said last night on the Concierge Trade Alerts was to sell 48.55. 48.55. That's going to be right about here. Okay. This right here, walk away. This right here, this stuff dreams are made of. The first swing low before you had to pull back was 48.12. 48.12. Let me write down that we were trying to sell 48.55. Okay, if you're going to sell 48.55, I'm going to do this calculator so I can move quickly. I strain my brain. I got to work all afternoon. 48.55 minus 48.12. Okay, so that's $430 per contract available. Per contract available. Gold and crude pay $10 per tick. Soybeans and the S&P pay $12.50 per tick. The Russell pays $100 a tick. The Dow pays $5 a tick. Okay. But your daily goal is to make $100 per contract. Okay. We don't believe the answer is more points. We believe the answer is more contracts. Okay. That's how we solve the market equation. So let's throw some indicators up here. Okay, following behind here, you know, your BBC. The more experienced trader could have probably just stayed in this trade forever. But if you're new, you see that's a red close right there. If that was a green close, that would be an exit signal. But it's not, it's red. You don't get a green exit signal until right here. The close is 47.94. 47.94. Okay. So let's go. 48.55 minus 47.94. Oh, I was measuring this guy. He's closed at 47.94. It's okay if you waited for the indicators to tell you to get out at 47.94. There was $610 per contract available. 61 ticks at $10 per tick. Right there. Okay. Step line got on the back side of the MA1. You got a up close on a down trade. That's your exit. Oh, you know what? No, it's not, because the step line hasn't crossed. This is your exit. 47.96. So there's going to be $20 difference. Instead of $610, it's going to be $590. Per contract available. Now, is this also a market where you can trade multiple contracts? Oh yeah. No problem. In fact, crude, you can trade crude, gold, and the S&P. You can pretty much trade around the clock. The euro, pretty much, but definitely beginning at the London Open, you can trade the euro. Let's go to volume. Okay. I thought I rang the bell for volume indicators. Well, okay. There we go. All right. So the trigger, on the trigger, we had 2,700 contracts. 1,300 contracts. 2,400 contracts. 774 contracts. 4,000 contracts. So, in other words, around the clock, can you come in and trade your 10, 20 contracts? The answer is absolutely, positively yes. Not a problem. Not a problem. I hear somebody in the background. That be you, Michael? I guess it's somebody that doesn't want to talk to us. Okay. Or maybe we're infringing on their space. Oh man, I only got 30 minutes to my mentoring session. Okay. And I really need some lunch. Alright, so let's giddy up. Soybeans, ZSX6 by 10.07, sell 9.95. By 10.07. Where the heck's that? Right here. Alright. Buy 10:07. We're almost done, guys. Now, in case there's anybody in the audience that doesn't know this, you can have these alerts in your inbox tonight. If you've never taken the trial of the Concierge Trade Alerts, or if it's been 6 months since you took the trial, you can take a 1-week free trial. The way it's set up, it actually costs you $1. If the $1's a problem, I'll mail you $1. Okay. You get the 5-day trial, and then you get a day or whatever to make up your mind. If you don't want, if you didn't like it, if you didn't like the kind of money I'm showing you, then you can cancel, and you will never be billed another $1. If you like it, then it'll bill you quarterly or annually, whichever one you select. Okay, annually is the best. It saves you $1,000 a year on the subscription. Okay, but I mean, these aren't just some kind of fantasy numbers. These are real numbers that you can have in your inbox tonight. This first candle ran up to 10:09.75. That's 2 3/4 points, 2.75. I don't really have room to write it, but I'll squeeze it in there. 2.75 points available. Now, this is like, as I've told you, this is like the S&P, $12.50 a tick, $50 a point. Okay, price gets back below the trigger. Off we go again. This time we get up to 10.11.50. So that's going to be 4.5 points. 4.5 points times $50 per point per contract. Yes, you can trade multiple contracts in soybeans as well. Okay. And then price gets back below, and here, yeah, you might have taken that one and you'd have got stopped out, but it wouldn't have been for much. Okay. But I'll go ahead and write an SO there. All these people that call, wow. I mean, they know about the radio. But anyway, make the best of it, right? Be thankful we're in play. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. This one goes up to 1078.75. What? 1008.75. So that's 1.75. So you might have got stopped out there as well, but you had a chance. The market made 1.75 available. Oh, we'll just call it a stop out. You can see that there was money there. You have not, because you asked not. So you could have took something, but if you didn't, you got stopped out. Not for much. Based upon if you took it. I would have probably seen that as a walk away. And I don't know. Now, this is an interesting one right here. Okay? I'd have probably, this would have probably been a walk away for me. Even though it produced 1007, put in a swing high at 1020, so that's 13 points. $13 points available. But it was probably a walk away. I would have walked away. If you become a client, and you start the classes with me, the one-on-one mentoring, I'll explain exactly to you why. And you too will be well informed. Alright, 2030 on the old NASDAQ. We had a great move this morning. We went long. That thing just took off like a rocket on our daily double. And then we were going to sell it short at, I can't really show you guys because it's still in play for the rest of the day. We told everybody they should probably get out at right at the highs up there. We knew we were going to have some good resistance. We decided to short it at 47. Well, I can't give you the number because it hasn't played out yet, but I can tell you that it hasn't triggered. I'll tell you that much. Now, on the Concierge Trade Alert, buy 48.10. This is my arch nemesis part coming out. By 48.10. Alright, NASDAQ. Buy 48.10, sell 47.95. 47.95. Just don't take any of my NASDAQ trades. They just seem to be an endless sort of pain. Well, you're not going to take that trade. This one actually dropped 47.95. It dropped down to. Well, that gave you your points for the day. 47.95. Sell 47.95. Okay, swing low is 47.8950. So 90 would give you your 5 point. You need 5 points per day to meet your daily goal. Okay, that happened at right off the 9:30 bell this morning. Very easily might have been a trade that you would have taken. But it went further. It went all the way down to 89.50. So. $47.95 minus swing low, $47.89.50. So 95 minus 89.50. Come on, Dwayne. That's 5.5 points. You can do this. It's just math. 5.5 points available. Okay? All right. And then nothing else gave you. That gave you 95 down to a low of 91.25. So that gave you 4. It gave you 3.75. Up here, we were looking to buy 48.10, right? Yeah. By 48.10. Okay, 48.10. Put in a swing high at 48.17 and a quarter, so that's 7.25. So there's your points for the day again. And the swing high here was 48.18, so that's 8 points. There's your points again for the day. 8. Because it pays $20 per point, you only need 5 points to make your $100 per contract per day. And if you have the patience to stick to the plan, the 24/20 blueprint will help you slowly but surely add a contract with the profits you earn, add a contract with the profits you earn, add a contract with the profits you earn, and before you know it, bada boom, bada bing, you have found yourself trading 20 contracts. It takes 24 months to get there if you follow the plan. If you try to short circuit the plan, you could get hurt. I'm serious. I know I'm like some funny guy, but I'm serious when it comes to money and you as part of our community, part of our family, one of our partners, clients losing money. I take that very seriously, and you're going to lose money from time to time, but if you'll follow the rules we give you, you never ever have to blow up your account again. Not ever. I know the pain of blowing up your account. You don't have to do it. They used to say, oh, you're not even a real trader unless you've blown up your account a couple of times. No, I used to agree with them. Why? Because I had blown up my share. And I don't agree with them anymore. That doesn't make you a real man or a real trader or a real woman. You know, I don't want to be sexist here. It just makes you somebody that didn't know any better. That's what I was. I was somebody I didn't know. Swing high here is 20.36.10, so $110 per contract available. Okay. And then important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So from 12.35 up to 12.39.50. That's $450 per contract available. $450 per contract available. Okay. All right. Then price gets back below and up we go again. This time we get up to 12.27.30. So that's $230 per contract available. Remember, we never get out at the exact swing high or exact swing low. We always leave something on the table. Why? Because we exit with a trailing stop. Okay? Alright. This next swing high took us up to 77.60. So that's $260 per contract available. stick it up there where you can see it. Okay. What are we left with? We've covered everything but soybeans. No, we covered those. We covered the S&P, we covered the Dow, we covered gold, we covered bonds, we covered crude, soybeans, NQ, Russell. We're done. Okay, let me check the chat box, see if there's anything I failed to answer. I will take a look, Ron, at the thorium reactor. I never heard of that. It's all over YouTube. Thorium is abundant and has no use and will actually neutralize nuclear waste. Accidents are nearly impossible with thorium and easily manageable. I'm going to write that word down because when I close this room, I'll lose it. Thorium. Okay. What, in your opinion, is the objective of these controlling elites? Time's left, so I won't bother with that question. And he's left, and he's left, and he's left. Okay. And he's left. Huh. There's one thing here that I would like to talk about, but he's gone. We'll talk about. Somebody remind me tomorrow. We'll talk about it. Wayne T. said Nikola Tesla had the technology for broadcasting electricity, as evidenced by his Wardenclyffe Tower on Long Island, which was shut down by his financial backer, J.P. Morgan, when he found out what Tesla's intentions were. Tesla had told him the tower was for broadcasting radio waves across the Atlantic. Obviously, the possibility of free or close to it electricity was not appealing to Morgan or men like him. So, in other words, Tesla was telling people that this thing was going to transmit, radio waves, but it was going to actually transmit electricity. And for that, he was killed. I think, so the story goes. I should study up. Let me make a note on my Tesla. My wife's watching some TV thing on Netflix. It's like a TV series about Nikola Tesla. So, are you familiar with Kishi technology? No, but I'll write it down and I'll figure it out. I'll ask my friend Google. Okay. Guys, I got to run. You've been an awesome audience today, as you always are. You're the best audience in radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-host, and guest. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any securities. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.